I forgot how short that intro was. Oh, Jess.
That's what I got.
You and your funny toys.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Rumble.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. You'll have to excuse us. We're a little bit slow.
It's old age.
That's
It
what
happens.
we're saying, at least.
I found 5 more gray hairs this week. It's nuts.
Yeah, that's too bad for you.
Oh, and then I just look over and see Cliff Booth's comment here. So. It's all right, Cliff. So am I.
Oh, well, we're here. We're actually starting pretty close to the time, closer than we have in a long time.
Actually, yeah. Hey, it's only 7 minutes after right now, so. Don't we normally get closer to like
25 minutes after the
something like that.
Scheduled time. Well, we got a good chunk of the group that's shown up. There might be a few more that pop in. There might not, but either way, I think we got a good one here. So, got some good people already in the green room, and yeah, I don't really have too much banter. We're doing Ghostbusters franchise, as I'm sure you all know.
All 5 of them.
Well, some people believe there's only 4, but I guess technically we do have to do a 5th one.
Yeah,
I'm in my gear.
I see that.
By the way,
you kind of look like Rick Moranis.
I was thinking that zipping it up today. You know, he's in Ghostbusters too, and I'm like, I got to help the guys.
Maybe we should have done a video clip of that. You getting all geared up for it.
In my head, till I'm looking in the mirror, you know, I think I'm like Peter Venkman more look, and then I like look in the mirror, and yeah, you're right. It's Louis Tully, but he's one of my favorite characters.
Well, would you rather have Rick Moranis' hair or Bill Murray's hair?
Rick Moranis' hair.
Okay.
Yes. Who does your taxes? I don't know. He's one of my favorites. I wish I could do his voice better. Yeah, so this costume was actually specially made by a friend of the family's named Angela. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. This was Halloween a while back. And my son actually chose who we were all going to be. And he, of course, said, I'm Slimer, Dad's going to be a Ghostbuster, and Mom is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. But these were fantastic.
I see snow on the ground, so I'm assuming that's post-California.
This was post-California, yes. No, that's Marshmallow. Oh. But anyway. All right. Should we bring our wonderful guests on?
Yeah, let's start with somebody who hasn't been on in a while.
All right. Well, hi, Isaac.
What's up,
hey guys.
Sam?
So,
Hi, Sam.
you know, you don't have to worry about gray pubes if you just shave them. Problem solved. I'm just throwing it out there for anybody at home.
Words of wisdom.
But I'm getting gray too. I'm just going to let it all go gray. I'm done.
You know, and if you leave them there, where else are you going to get called gray bush then? So I might not shave them.
Exactly.
I think it would be distinguished to be called gray bush.
I think I'm too old to start growing in a full beard. It's just, you know, that ship has sailed.
That might be a good thing too.
I can tell you, my wife thinks I'm going to end up being really hot when I get older. So
silver fox.
That's always a positive. So
she's still waiting. She has.
One day my silver fox will come.
All right. Number 2, Mr. Dan Shine.
What's up? I'm just going to say Jess Graham is lying. We've all gotten the unsolicited text. He's bald as Goldberg down there.
That was between you guys and me.
Well, next time ask before you send the text, Jess. It's not cool.
Should he text you before he asks to send you a text? Or
Exactly.
does that happen? But you
Bald,
didn't ask that text.
Bald shots coming. You know,
Send
you
one
should have
right
just said
now.
that.
Just
There you go. Not a good idea. Well, shit. I'm going to make this dirtier than it should be. So I'll
This is
just stop
Ghostbusters.
whatever I'm going to say.
It's
this isn't
fine.
even a
like,
rated R film we're doing.
Yeah, it's a PG movie with a ghost blowing somebody. I don't think this is an issue.
He's already prematurely used, so.
They did ride some lines there in this PG film.
There is. Not well, the first film. I mean, come on. First film's pretty edgy.
It is.
Hey, what's up,
What
Sean?
up, John?
Sean McManus. Haven't seen you around in a while. And Isaac Flake, good to see
What's
you.
up, Isaac?
Volcano Green Lava Orange. That sounds like Ecto Cooler, which I was going to bring up soon, but
Oh,
Yes.
love Ecto Cooler.
me
Gotta bring
too.
it back again.
Oh, I've tried to campaign to High C. I stopped drinking it a couple years ago because they didn't re-release it publicly.
There you
And
go.
yeah, I've cried over Ecto Cooler many times. It's delicious. It really is one of my favorite flavors.
We have a
Good
can
bit.
from the 2016 merchandising days. It's still unopened if you want it. But you have to drink
thank
it
you
on
for
air.
asking. Oh, I don't think I could.
Chris won't let me open it.
I learned a long time ago you just got to drink that stuff and maybe keep the can or the box as a memento.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah, we
stuff
just picked
is
up the Beetlejuice Fantas today. Yeah, Chris finally found them. The haunted apple. It tastes like caramel apple. It's weird, but good.
that sounds
I
strange.
got to get that.
Might actually try that.
I'm so excited for Beetlejuice.
Well,
So excited.
he's not Beetlejuice, but his name was mentioned. Why don't we go ahead and bring him on?
Hold on.
We're just gonna let Chris sit in the green room this whole
For the first time on cable channel 11, Chris,
Who's that Pokemon?
the Stay Puft Marshmallow Chris. How you doing, man?
Doing good. You said my name and I appeared.
No, oh, nice.
Magic. It's magic. Welcome. I'm glad you're finally on here after
Of
all
course.
this time.
So,
And
yeah.
you
Well,
guys recently did a
Yeah.
Ghostbuster films on your show, which
Yeah, still
right?
are. Yeah, we're going through. We just wrapped up Answered the Call with Mr. Bombastic, which was really fun. And then we're doing, we still have to do Afterlife and Frozen Empire. So if anybody wants to jump in on either of those discussions for an episode, you all can just drop me a line on Twitter.
Cool.
Doing the cartoon too?
No, this is just the main series of movies. And it's like we've gotten past, we're over the hump of Answer the Call. So the rest should be easy peasy.
There you go.
You like us at Sound, we're going in the order of release, so at least we will be ending on a little better note, I hope.
Yeah, sorry, Sean. It's going to be in the discussion, but
Yeah, unfortunately, it is. It is not by my choice official, but it is official. I would rather almost talk about the cartoons and other things, but that's not how we do this show.
hey, speaking of cartoons, we got another entrant.
Ooh.
See a cartoon? Oh, I see.
A
Cole!
cartoon, apparently.
What's up, Cole?
What's up,
What's up?
Cole?
Oh, maybe I get it because
I see you.
Cole and I do an animated series on his
Yeah,
channel.
it kind of works. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm associated with cartoons. Sure, I'll take it.
That's what I'm going with, is what Kory meant. So
Yes, absolutely.
Nicely done.
Didn't
Kory.
you two just do one not too long ago?
Yeah, we
Just-
just did Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. Anyone's interested in that?
good one.
Nice.
Go check that out. Again, you know how we do this. At the end, we'll let everybody promote, and the links will be
Yeah.
in the description.
Yeah.
So, Ghostbusters, they've got video games, toys, cartoons, music, ecto cooler. Before we dive into the movies, is there anything special about any of those that bring back to you? I know I had the Commodore 64 Ghostbusters video game, which was awesome.
Oh,
It was a lot like the Nintendo one, but that came first. I think it was made for the 64, and they kind of put it out on different consoles.
I
And
miss
of course,
Ecto Cooler. I don't know
miss
why that's
Ecto
not a
Cooler.
regular thing.
it
I
should
think
be.
everybody likes it.
And if it's a licensing thing, call it something else. Ghost Cooler.
Well, I mean, technically, didn't they have the was the High C Tangerine, which they still had in circulation, but it wasn't under the Ecto Cooler name.
That's right.
I still think it tastes a little different without without being Ecto Cooler, though.
I agree with you. Something slightly different, but even that's discontinued now, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think so.
And they've got a few nasty flavors that they could replace that with. High C. So
I
listen
don't
up.
know what flavors High C has. Like, I know there's orange drink and then fruit punch, and that's it. And I'm just terrified to think about what the others are.
Yeah, there's some ones that beyond those that don't taste the greatest to me.
Hmm.
Then I have to look them up. I know there's like grape and some other. I don't know if there's kiwi anymore. I don't. Just bring back Ecto Cooler is all we're saying.
Just bring it back.
Anybody here watch the real Ghostbusters cartoon?
Of course.
Of course.
I did, and I
Yeah.
hated it.
Why?
There were certain cartoons that I could watch as a kid. Ghostbusters the cartoon didn't do anything for me at all.
Mhm.
So
It's too kitty.
give me He-Man, give me G.I. Joe, give me Transformers, but I couldn't do Ghostbusters.
What about Filmation's Ghostbusters, which was completely
With the
different?
monkey.
Yes, Hank, I was hoping
The
somebody would
70s
know.
one.
Yeah,
I think I actually caught that. It's like, I think it was being played in syndication on some channel that we have, and I like seeing that it was Ghostbusters, so I like went to it, and then it wasn't what I thought it was. So
I actually had toys from that. I don't know if
Wow.
someone got confused, but I ended up loving that cartoon as well.
Nice. Nice.
I didn't see it till like the internet,
Damn
I
it.
think.
Oh, I
Probably on
remember it in the
YouTube, I
80s.
would imagine.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't dislike the real Ghostbusters cartoon, but it was low on my priorities too. Like the ones he named would have been above it for me too. So it was like lower for me than a lot of other cartoons at the time, Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. But so a lot of my memories of Ghostbusters back then was more through my friends who were bigger fans of the show and maybe the movie because I never had Ghostbuster toys, but they did. So I played with the toys through them, but I didn't actually have any of my own. I mean, I did like the car, of course. Everybody likes the car. Ryan, you guys might know as Raiho. He had the Ecto one. He still has it, I think. And obviously, I was a big fan of that, but I wasn't as into that cartoon back then as I was to others. But I didn't dislike it. It was just, it was meh.
Cole had a
Wish
slinky
they still
once,
had
but he
the
straightened
car.
it.
I what?
I said he had a slinky once, but you straightened it. It's a line from Ghostbusters 2, is it?
Too.
Yeah.
yeah, but he only
Yeah,
had
dude.
part of one.
Part of one.
Oh
that's
yeah,
it.
that's an Eon line. I know.
My dad loves that line. It's one of his favorites. Well, should we dive in?
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll start with
Yes.
number 1. Ghostbusters, 1984.
So I have a quick question about this, real quick.
Okay.
Where did they do any filming for this movie in Kansas City?
I don't think so.
The original Ghostbusters?
Yeah,
No,
there's
I
a
don't-
okay. So in
Most of it was
94,
shot on location in New York.
okay, so in
and
'94,
LA.
Los
I
Angeles.
was in Kansas City, where my uncle was a minister for the Salvation Army, so we would go down there and help them out like every so often. And my aunt is driving us to this warehouse where we were going to clean it out. And as we're driving to this warehouse, there's this tall building, and it looks like the apartment building in the first Ghostbusters movie, like the exterior. So I wasn't sure if maybe if they like shot any exterior shots or anything in Kansas
No.
City or not.
That exterior of the apartment building was built for the movie. I wonder if that ended up down there though. Like, I don't know if it was maybe the facade or maybe
Perhaps.
something similar based off of it.
Yeah, because if it wasn't a facade or a set, I think it was New York.
All right. Just curious. I've always wondered about that. So.
Yeah, it's New York and LA, mostly New York for the city locations.
Who wants to take it first? I'll go last. I feel like I'm always the one rambling first of my.
Why don't we kick this thing off with our new guy, Chris?
Oh, sure. So first Ghostbusters movie, saw it as a kid, of course, probably on TV or parents heard of the movie or something like that. Fell in love with it. I enjoyed the cartoon as well, the first one, but I never played with the toys. I was never a toy kid, really. It was mainly
Very serious.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very.
He
serious.
was the one with part of a sling.
He's the one that's slinky, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, enjoyed Dr. Cooler. Also to say also is a lot of beer companies also are Ghostbusters fans. There's one I have called Puff Daddy.
Oh,
It's pretty good.
Nice. Hold on.
Oh yeah, it's pretty
There you
fun. Oh, hold on. There you go.
Oh,
Oh, cool. Puffed.
that is
Daddy.
cool.
Anyway, so the movie itself, though, it's one of those lightning in a bottle, perfect movies to me, where like I could watch it multiple times, and I have, and still tend to find new things each time, and nothing I would change with it. Even seeing the deleted scenes, and extended scenes and things like that, and I would not change a second of it. I just think it's great as it stands.
Totally agree. Totally.
But yeah, that's kind of a quick kind of synopsis. I don't want to take up too much time.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Anybody got Cole?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of sort of what he said. I mean, as far as thoughts on the movie, as this goes on, we're going to reveal that I'm not much of a Ghostbusters fan as far as Ghostbusters as a franchise goes, but I love the first movie, and I do feel like it is, like what you said, almost like a perfect movie and lightning in a bottle. I've always it just has such a great feel, and I don't know. So my memories that are, of course, a bit different, maybe a little bit younger. So I think I saw the second movie first, but I was aware of the movie because I think the cartoon predates the second movie, doesn't it? Yeah. So I'd already been at least familiar with the cartoon, and I think sometime maybe in 1990 or so, I guess, when the second one was on video, watching it, and then renting the first one after that to see it. So. And I mean, even as a kid, I was like, yeah, the first one's a lot better. But I still like them both. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a really big Bill Murray fan. He's one of my favorite actors, not just comedic actors. He's just one of my favorite actors, period. And, you know, that's just a sort of a classic character that I've always enjoyed. I know he didn't write the lines and stuff, but you know, he always adds his own bit of flair to it. I think I'll bring this up later when we talk about later movies too. It's like, I think there's a lot to be said for the chemistry of those actors, you know, of the cast, how well they work together and how they made stuff that doesn't necessarily sound funny on paper, quite funny to actually, you know, see it on the screen, the way they do it and stuff like that. So, I'm known for being long-winded, so I'll keep it brief right now. I'm sure and I have others, but I mean, yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. It's, one of those pop culture giants from the 80s that really, you know, I grew up with in the 80s and into the 90s, you know, that went on, you know, like Terminator or Back to the Future, you know, it's right up there with any of those.
Yeah. Sam, how about you?
Oh, I mean, it's perfect movie also. And same with Chris, like I'll find new little jokes in it every time I watch it or something different. I didn't, you know, there was a long period of time where I wasn't a Ghostbusters fan. Like I started off as a Ghostbusters fan when I was younger, you know, because obviously there was the cartoon, and I don't remember if I saw the first one first or the second one first. So, no idea. but I loved Ghostbusters and had a bunch of the toys. And I think, I kind of fell off with it for a long time, like for about 10 years between like teenager and like mid-20s, and then I picked it back up, and it's kind of just been, one of my favorite fandoms since then. I mean, like, I wrote Ghostbusters lines into my wedding vows. I'm dead serious.
This is true, he said.
So, and if you look at our shirts,
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Chris and I are
Love
the
it.
people that match. And
Love it.
Yeah. This wasn't intended for the show. This is just something that we saw over at Old Navy because I already had the black one, so he picked up the white one. So it's like, yes, I've had the Crystal Skull vodka. Yes, I got it signed by Dan Aykroyd. Of course I went to the signing. It's that level of, like, I can't buy all the things, but I can go and get the ones that are very special to me. But no, I mean, I've always loved it, and I don't think I'm going to stop loving it unless they give me something like Ghostbusters 2016 in the future again. We might have words at that point.
So you think it's a pretty good movie, is what you're saying?
It's okay.
Not good enough for me to get the 50-foot, or sorry, 25-foot stay
You
puft.
got the 15-foot. It's fine.
Yeah, I know, but still,
If
I
you
could
got
get
the
25-foot.
The 25-foot one would be bigger than the house. We don't. That's.
I
Sam,
can tell you wanted to, but you made just a logical decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny because it's like Chris stands next to it and he's half the size of it. It's hilarious. It's like Christopher scale. Yeah, this year we're getting terror dogs. Well, at least one inflatable terror dog. That's the goal.
Mhm.
And then Chris and I are going as the gatekeeper and the keymaster.
Oh, fantastic.
But to
Very
be honest,
cool.
it would be way funnier because he's so much taller than I am, and Sigourney Weaver's super tall. If he was rocking the gatekeeper dress and I was the keymaster, that would be fucking hilarious. I would love it.
Flip it. That's what you need to do. It's 2024. Flip it.
Costumes are already bought. Maybe for a con or something in the future.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, at least no matter what, come Halloween or when you bring that out and you're in the costumes, please send us some pictures. That would.
Oh yeah.
Post the
No,
pictures in our group.
we're gonna end up being the Ghostbusters house every year, and
We
I
already
love
kind
that.
of are.
Yeah, because it's like we've got Stay Puft, we've got this inflatable Slimer hovering over the tombstone.
Oh,
We just
so
need
cool.
terror dogs. Yeah, like I just want to be the Ghostbusters house for Halloween every year. Just give
We
out
also got the
candy
metal
and candy.
signs from Fright Rags or some horror site that had the metal signs last year. It's like Ghostbusters only parking and some other ones.
Yeah,
We have those in our house too.
yeah. We have a stupid amount of like Ghostbusters artwork inside the house. Like we have Chris has the original 84 one-sheeter. Like
Yeah.
that was the theater one-sheeter. It's very creased, but we've got it framed.
Still cool.
Yeah, the person I got it from stored it like folded, but yeah, it's original 84 in a theater he worked at.
Oh,
Whoa.
So yeah,
collector's item.
yeah, Ghostbusters is our jam.
Well, for those of you who don't know, she mentioned him standing next to the inflatable, how many feet tall, and he was like half the size. Chris is a tall man.
Yes. I am very tall, but I'm not like, I guess, special category. I mean, I think it's not.
You wear a size 18 in
wow.
shoes.
how short are you, Chris?
Yeah, 6'11".
That's pretty tall.
6'11".
Yeah.
Wow. Michael Crichton was 6'11".
Holy crap.
Jesus,
I was
I
not
had
aware
no
of that.
idea.
Is that why
That's
you love
all I got
dinosaurs so much?
Like I used to work with a guy who was 6'8", and I was like, "Damn, you're big." 6'11".
Yeah.
Wow.
One
His
of my
family's-
friends is 6'8", 6'9".
I don't think I've ever seen somebody that tall in person, honestly. 6'11". I don't think I.
Well, I've seen Big Show, but I mean, and he's a big guy, but holy shit.
Apparently, he's not packing much, from what I've heard.
That's what Regal
Sorry.
says.
Ugh.
JT,
I knew somebody that he got.
Okay, hold on. You're talking Big Show, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just
I'm just saying the Big Show isn't such a big show. Apparently, she got flashed by the Big Show at a hotel because she was like a maid there. Wasn't that big? Just saying.
All right.
You don't have to
I
believe
guess
me.
there's that extra pressure that comes with being that tall. Really,
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not like super tall, because being super tall, as I said, is not a guarantee of like being proportionate or whatever like that. It's not at all. So
Well, sounds like Chris is
Yeah.
pretty comfortable with himself. So
I wasn't trying to say anything about that. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I do feel for some guys that are super tall, because maybe there's that expectation that goes along with it, and it doesn't always match up.
looks like
So
a baby's arm holding an apple.
Basically, Big Show is not a big show, and Chris is his
It's the real
proton
show.
is definitely packing. So
I
All
knew
right.
a maid.
Proton packing.
He's never gonna come on the show again.
I know.
I'm glad we got this established.
I knew a maid in Kansas City that walked in on Hornswoggle, and she calls him tripod now. I don't know. Bad joke.
Oh my gosh. Well, why
I
don't you
pissed
just
it.
take it from there,
so,
Dan?
yeah, Dan.
Dan,
On that note, so
Hold on a second. You know it's bad when we have to go to Dan to get back on the rails. So
Yeah.
I'll get it back on track. So the original Ghostbusters, 84. Obviously, I saw it really young. I mean, it's always been a part of my life, and it's a fantastic movie. It almost makes me sad watching it now, because you look at modern day children's films, and this probably wouldn't even qualify as that anymore, but there's zero edge. You watch this and it's like, it's a scary film, especially when you see it as a child. I mean, it's
The second one scared me when I saw it.
Yeah.
No,
Although,
I don't mean to cut you
I
off.
would say
here,
that
but
is-
you guys. You were saying it's a horror film. Now we're doing the Rumble. That was kind of a debate when Kory even brought it up to me about doing it. It's like,
It's
is it horror?
100%.
Is it a comedy? I think it's comedy first.
Well,
with
you can be
elements of
both.
horror, action,
Can be
sci-fi.
Horror
Yeah.
elements.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in my horror section,
You would
but-
put it in your horror section. See, if I had one section of genre, I had to place it in a video store. I think I would put it in comedy.
No, you were wrong, Jess Graham, but that's okay.
Everybody else here before Dan goes on, comedy or horror?
I put it in comedy before I would put if I'm putting it in a section in the video store. Yeah, it's in the comedy section, but I still consider it still straddles the line of horror. Like,
Oh, agreed.
okay, what do you consider something like Beau is Afraid? If anybody saw that movie,
I didn't.
Dan, I know you see everything.
That would probably go in the drama section for me.
Even
It's
though
a lot of things.
Yeah, because I made it my top horror movie last year because that movie scared the shit out of me. I was having an anxiety attack for the first 40 minutes.
I mean, it's frightening. It's funny. I mean, that one's just
All over the place.
If I had a weird section, that would be the unclassifiable weird section. Maybe you put that with the racer head. I don't know. That one's tougher than Ghostbusters for me, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so.
yeah, very different. But 84, I mean, this is like an era for me. I mean, I wasn't quite born yet, but it's an era where movies like this had edge. This is at the time where I would be watching on video Something Wicked, This Way Comes, and Watcher in the Woods, stuff like that really, now they wouldn't go that dark for kids. And
I mean, those things too you just mentioned were regularly played on the Disney Channel
Yep.
back when it was a
I
subscription.
can't stand that Watcher in the Woods isn't on Disney Plus. Is there some reason for that?
I don't know. It's on Blu-ray. They had it in the Disney Club.
There's
but-
a few things that should be on Disney Plus that are totally Disney.
yeah, they still don't
Midnight
have
Hour.
Brotherly Love on there, and I'm pissed.
Yeah, everything basically that I like out of Disney. I don't. Maybe they have Blackbeard. I don't know, but that was
Yeah,
kind of
but-
my era.
But to Dan's point, it's kind of what I was saying before about there was actually the first one really wasn't intended for kids. Is the difference?
No.
The second one marks a shift where they made it more kid friendly. They toned down the language. They weren't allowed to smoke, and they added more kid friendly elements. It was just one of those movies that was not intended for kids that kids just happen to really like, and they spun a cartoon off it and all this merch. So
But it was
that's what
we,
that's the
we
shit.
had Rambo cartoons on Saturday morning.
Oh yeah, I
Cool.
mean,
I mean-
it's all part of it. I mean, growing up having like hard R movies like marketed towards you was just the norm anyway. Whether it was with the video games and the cartoons and stuff like that, because I mean, like, go down the list, like Terminator, RoboCop, Rambo, yeah, all graphically violent, full of you're not supposed to see them as a kid, and yet there's all this merchandise and toys and stuff.
Saturday
spun off
morning
for it.
cartoons. And
Yep.
I miss the 80s.
You love stuff like a Rambo cartoon too, because I mean they have to water them down for the cartoon. So in the Rambo cartoon, he's not killing anybody. It's the same thing as like watching GI Joe, where two armies are fighting each other constantly, and there's never any casualties.
Which I know
Nothing
sometimes
sells.
I was disappointed as a kid that some of these things weren't as harsh when they came back with the cartoon or the sequel.
Oh,
Everything had a cartoon back then. Nothing sells Happy Meals like a nom. I mean, holy crap. Police Academy. Back then, just everything would get a cartoon. It might go for a year, but everything had
Police
that.
Academy had a cartoon. RoboCop had a cartoon.
Yep.
Conan had a cartoon. Toxic Crusaders had a cartoon.
Toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Oh yeah.
I got Kettle Tomatoes. Exactly. A lot of like cult,
Tomatoes was good.
yeah, horror and other stuff would end up getting kids' cartoons.
Yes. And we got Space Rabbits, Bucky O'Hare.
True.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. But no, the first film, I mean, and you look at the PG rating too. I mean, it's perfect casting. Bill Murray at his height, Dan Aykroyd at his absolute height, Sigourney Weaver. Just the cast alone is hard to top, as we'll kind of get into later. But I think this is, if not a perfect movie, this one's damn close. It makes sense why it's survived now for 40 years, 40th anniversary as we speak. That's amazing. And I think this one will live on after we're all gone too. I think it has legs.
Well, since Jess, you wanted to go last, I guess I'll go. I don't remember exactly how old I was when I first saw the first one, but I do remember that it was on TV, and I recorded it off of TV so I could watch it whenever I wanted. And yes, I was one of those that would actually sit there with the remote and pause so I didn't get any of the commercials.
Nice.
That's too bad. Commercials are my favorite thing about my old tapes from back then.
I ended up
honestly.
regretting that stuff later, because I ended up getting a box of old VHS tapes from somebody. I don't even remember where I got them from, but I was watching it and they were doing, I think it was a documentary on the Family Channel for the Batman '89. So I was watching this documentary, and this old A&W root beer commercial came on with the guy from the Bob Newhart show. Hi, my name's Larry. This is my brother Daryl. This is my other brother Daryl. Yeah.
William
So-
Sanderson. Yeah.
Yeah, so I seen that commercial and I started getting all nostalgic and shit for the 80s. But anyway, the wind blows just right and I get nostalgic for the 80s. But actually, so when COVID hit, there's a small college town about an hour away from me and Jess. And they were playing old movies during COVID, and they were playing Ghostbusters. So me and my wife drove an hour to go see it in the theater, which was nice. It was like me, her, and I think like 3 other people, like a mom, a daughter, and like the grandma. But so that was kind of nice.
I also eventually got to see it in theater for a reissue. It's nice.
I'm not a huge like Sigourney Weaver fan, but she looks damn hot in this movie. Like, ouch. Which brings me to my question that I have to ask Dan during every one of our shows. How many porn parodies of this are there? There's got to be at least
grabbed
one.
some if you wanted me to go look. No, there's a lot more than one. There's like maybe 8 or 9.
I'm very
Good
afraid
God.
of how they.
Well, and at
use,
least
like,
one
the
or two of those goes back
ectoplasm.
to the 80s.
Yeah, Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good is like the
Yeah,
tagline on
Oh, yes, it writes
it
itself.
was made for. Yeah,
yeah.
Ray Parker Jr., man, that song.
Yeah, Nutbusters. There's a lot of them out there. So
Nutbusters, Buttbusters.
I mean, speaking to the
seen them.
not intended for kids vibe of the first movie, that actually has like Ray having some sort of sexual encounter with a ghost. It's like the second one, they're like, okay, we can't do that anymore.
It's like literally unbuckling his belt and opening his pants.
We're gonna need another rating kind of moment.
So there was
there's no ambiguity there as to what's going on.
Oh, and then also like when Lewis asks Dana after they're rescued, after Gozer's defeated, like, did we? No, Lewis. We did not. She's like, no, Lewis, we did not fuck. We are not talking about this.
Okay.
so
I guess
there
we're
was-
never getting Rick Moranis back.
Oh man, that would take these later movies to another level. We'll get to that. I want Rick Moranis back.
Yeah. His retirement stuck. Because I mean,
He's really not
technically,
though, and he's admitted that he's
Yeah.
hasn't found anything he wants to do.
Yeah, he was just what he did. He showed up as in that episode of the Goldbergs, right, when they were doing the Spaceballs parody,
Mhm.
or doing Spaceballs rather.
Yeah, did Darth Helmet? Yeah.
Yeah.
He just
I
left.
don't know if
I
I've
think
watched
his
that far yet.
yeah. He's a dude
I knew
that
he
just
did, though.
left. His wife died, I think, and he just left Hollywood.
Yeah.
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 Take care of his kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
Never came back. I think.
But he
what
said
movie-
he's never
he
quit.
did
Now,
Brother
he did some
Bear
voice roles.
like 20 years ago or something. Yeah, some voice roles. He did Brother Bear,
Yeah.
voice of Moose, and that's all I can think of. I know there's
It's basically the
obviously a couple
McKenzie
other
brothers.
things sprinkled in there.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, technically Dan Aykroyd is supposed to be retired too, although he's been a lot less retired because like he officially retired like 10
They'll
years
never
ago.
run out of conspiracies. Dan Aykroyd will never retire.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Watch him turn into like watch what I mean. Serious, like there's gonna be a time when it's like maybe but right before he dies. Like, what if he just finds Jesus and gets rid of all of the ghost shit? I feel at that point we're definitely in a simulation.
Yeah.
I want to see him take Joe Rogan's spot. I just want like Joey
Someone
Diaz.
should. I would
He's
like
been
someone
on an
to.
episode of Joe Rogan
Yeah.
before, and he like was like, "Oh,
Wow.
did I call like Joe Rogan to calm him down?" Like, all right, dude.
But can't you just see it like Joey Diaz is on there? Dan Aykroyd, you cocksucker. It works better. Come on, it's better than Rogan. Needs that spot.
Low bar.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd doesn't have enough money.
No,
No money. Notoriously broke Dan Aykroyd.
Rick Moranis was pretty lucky. The movies that he did, I mean, he got paid. So
Yeah.
yeah, that Little Giants money is still coming in.
I think that was.
Man,
Giants.
I like that movie.
Holy shit! Was that the last movie he did? Like,
I think Big
No.
Bully with Tom Arnold might
Big
have been the
Bully
last
is, I
one.
think.
okay.
Yeah.
No,
It was,
honey,
Honey, We Shrunk
we
Ourselves.
shrunk ourselves. Yes.
Honey, yeah. Oh, that sucks.
Oh,
Honey, I Shrunk My Kids was huge though, so that's one of them.
I was.
That was massive at the time. That's a movie I remember really clearly.
Yeah.
I like that a lot too. Saw it with my folks in the theater.
I remember
The first one.
we did a Disney World trip that year, and they had a whole thing.
With the
I don't
ants,
remember
yes.
exactly where.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it showed how they did like the riding on the bees thing or something like that, like the screen. It was kind of like similar to the Back to the Future ride from Universal Studios, where you kind of get jolted around and there's a screen showing you flying around. It was something like that. It's hard to remember because I was so young, but maybe that was Universal Studios, not Disney World. But I mean, we did all the.
That
Parts.
movie actually made me stop eating sandwich cookies for a very long time.
Oh no, I totally related to that because I was an oatmeal cream pie. I mean, I just loved them.
Yes. Same. Exactly.
That didn't make you sick to your stomach seeing that big of a.
No, It was
Oh,
a
wow.
dream. It was like, oh my! I remember very well in the theater, my mom even turning to me and either saying something or grinning, and just finding that hilarious because that was me.
I think that's why
I
love
loved sandwich cookies until that, and then I couldn't eat them for a long time afterwards.
Can you not say oatmeal cream pie?
Oatmeal cream pie.
Okay, that's what it was.
Okay.
I didn't know if it was something that was too close to hair pie.
I do have
Hey,
a,
I don't remember
question
anything
for you
gross
guys.
happening in the movie with it, honestly.
No, it was because it was so big
Thank you.
on the screen. It's one of those like where if you walk into a restaurant and you see a dessert and it just looks really rich and it just looking at it upsets your stomach. Like not that it doesn't look good or
I don't
wouldn't
experience
taste
that.
good.
This is how you avoid diabetes.
I like seeing extra detail. I like seeing extra detail in things. I'm the kid that like I enjoyed cereal more as a kid by reading the ingredients while I ate it because I was picturing each ingredient individually on my tongue. I know you can't really do that, but I kind of convinced myself into that. So I mean,
What do you
So
think?
I was
Black
trying
was
to
a
find
big-
my way through the map on the back of the box.
We've established Jess's love of cream pies cannot be sated.
Damn it. I knew it.
It was coming from somebody at some point.
Yep.
And
But I do
get back.
have a quick question, and it is Ghostbusters related. So while I was
okay,
going through and I'm watching some different videos and stuff and getting other people's takes on the first movie, something that got brought up was that Slimer was not named in the first movie.
Oh, yeah, that's
no, I
true.
don't think he was.
No, he wasn't.
I
Not
think they named him on the
directly.
cartoon, right?
Not directly, but he is named technically when the scene where Winston is taken downstairs and he's shown the containment
Yeah, with
thing.
when Ray's talking
He
about
says
all
this
the
is where
Slimer-
we store all the specters, whatever, Slimers and whatnot. And you think back to when they first meet Slimer, when Bill Murray, I was gonna say Eddie Murphy, when Bill Murray gets slimed, he looks right at Dan Aykroyd and says he slimed me. So
Yeah.
technically he is named in the first movie.
I mean, technically
Eddie
his name's
Murphy was
Onion,
considered
but
for the movie.
Yeah.
that was the original, wasn't it, Sam?
Yeah,
Onion Head.
yeah. Little unwieldy as far as dialogue goes.
Well, I
That
mean, what
is
can
all.
I say that you guys haven't said? It is, to me, it is a damn near perfect movie as well. It ranks up there. Can't be beat as far as its own franchise. I don't remember a time where this movie wasn't around. So I guess it was made it was released when I was 3. So, and I don't remember a time it not being a part of my life. I'm sure it was in the living room, on the TV, whether it was VHS or just on TV that I first saw it, and watched it a lot whenever I could in the 80s. One of my favorite movies. And yeah, I mean, like I said, you guys said it. I don't have any other notes that you guys hadn't already brought up. So it's going to be a hard one to top if we're arguing if anybody here disagrees that the original Ghostbusters is not the best film of this franchise, at least.
I think it's probably on most people's top 10 80s list, at least if we're talking genre.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
And that's a tough one. But yeah, I think it's definitely in a large group of the greatest movies of all time, a very large group, but it definitely deserves that title.
and this is a conversation from another show, but see some of Sigourney Weaver's other stuff. She's got the iconic movies, but she's a great actress. Deaf and the Maiden. There's a lot of
I've
different
seen that.
things out there. Yeah, Ben Kingsley, good one. There's a lot out there. Ice Harvest, is it? The Kevin Kline. movie.
The Ice Storm.
Yeah.
Ice Storm. There you go.
Ice Storm. Jay and I did a show on that. If anyone cares.
Yeah, check that out.
Yep.
It's a good movie.
Copycat's also kind of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Copycat. I like serial killer movies, so
Mhm.
Yeah, everybody thinks Ripley, Ghostbusters, iconic roles, but she's done a lot of good work.
I liked her in
Well, they
Galaxy Quest, but
She was great in Galaxy
Galaxy-
Quest.
Oh,
Yeah.
Galaxy
Yeah,
Quest is
very-
great.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. What was there? This is a behind the scenes, and I don't remember what movie it was for, but she's with a group of other ladies, and they're kind of arguing about the roles jokingly, and she starts naming them off like do I even have to? Ghostbusters, Avatar, Alien.
no.
It was fantastic.
Mic drop.
Yeah, it was. It was a total mic drop by her.
Kevin
I always
Miller.
like their voice.
wasn't she also in Dave?
Dave, Paul, at the end of
can't
that
remember.
movie, the Alien movie with Simon Pegg. She's
That
great.
movie sucked.
Oh, Paul, yeah.
Oh, Paul's
Sorry,
good, Jen.
if you like
what do you
it.
got against
No.
Paul? I like Paul.
I don't know. I don't think I don't think Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright and any of them have ever been able to come even close to what Shaun of the Dead was and did.
Did you really
Oh
need
man,
that
I love
pause
Hot
after that?
Fuzz.
Hot
Hot
Fuzz.
Fuzz is one of my favorites all time. I watched.
See,
Hot Fuzz so
I
much.
think I was overly excited. It's a solid movie, but I was so excited as their follow up that I was semi disappointed
it.
when the first
I
time
get it.
watching.
But actually, that's the one I watch all the time. I've seen Hot Fuzz a million times.
I like it.
I
World's
worked with the
End.
director of photography on that, Jess Hall.
Oh,
Nice
nice.
guy. Another Jess.
Yes. You're just gonna do the Sigourney Weaver thing, right, Jess? Just
I
let's name
can
'em off.
sometimes.
Nickelodeon legend.
He's doing WandaVision, or he just did WandaVision. He's
He's pulling up his eye.
So let's-
I keep telling Jess
Let's
he
move
needs to
on.
do like a 6 degrees of Jess Graham or something.
Oh wow, that'd be fun.
Sorry.
Good.
No, I feel like these things come up enough that I'm like always name dropping, and half the stories the viewers probably don't even believe that I actually experienced.
So I
But
love
Ghostbusters
darker
too.
suits. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go, Sam, go.
No, I just I love the darker suits on Ghostbusters too.
I was actually just telling Jess that before we jumped on.
Where are my Halloween costumes of that? I'm sorry, I
You
can't
don't
wear
see them much.
No.
I'm a fan of these though, the original colors, but there again, I think that just goes back to the first movie, and I remember the cartoon kind of always bothered me that they were multicolored.
I know.
They did it in the first episode of the cartoon. They addressed that. They actually have the original outfits, and they get some
They
kind of
show, how they change.
some kind of special slime. Like, oh, we have to get rid of these forever. We have to have these new costumes for fucking whatever reason, cartoon logic shit. Then just have those new costumes from now on.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Jonathan?
Hello,
Jonathan.
but Ghostbusters too. Who wants to take it? Their experiences and
No, I mean,
whatnot.
I'll go first.
Their thoughts.
So I'll go first. Ghostbusters 2. I feel like it gets compared too hard to the first one. So everybody thinks Ghostbusters 2 is worse than it actually is. So it's still a good, decent movie. It's just not as good as the first one. So by comparison, everybody thinks, oh, it's just shit. But I will say where it does beat the first one is the soundtrack. The
Oh my
soundtrack is better than one, I feel.
Yep, I will agree.
Talking
Bobby
about Bobby
Brown's
Brown.
Brown.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your love.
Spirit.
is
Oh, I love
lifting
Spirit.
me
That's a great
higher.
track.
That's another great one.
Yeah.
Another one.
It's I always I have the best day if I have to go to the grocery store, and for some reason on our own it's playing on the grocery store sound, like the grocery store radio station, whatever that is. That's how you can tell you're old, when it's like you're just jamming out while you're getting groceries.
Just buy out all the oatmeal cream pies.
And the Ecto Cooler, have those
And
together.
the extra cool.
Hell yeah.
One fell behind his shelf, and I'm still gonna buy it.
I think one thing that part 2 has going for it is I like the villain better in part 2 than I do part 1. I think Vigo is much more intimidating looking, much more
It's gonna get more
scarier.
time to build up.
I'm sorry if I gotta if I have to pick which one I have to go up against, Vigo or why am I blanking?
Gozer?
Gozer.
Thank you. One looks like a Rockette. The other one looks like a pro wrestler. I'm gonna take my chances with the Rockette.
The guy who
So-
played Vigo did wrestle.
Did
Like
he?
he and his father
Yeah.
were in a tag team.
Well, see,
when they
that
came
explains
over
why he looks like a pro wrestler then.
Yeah, he was also like a real dickbag. Like
Huge.
he raped his stepmother, and he might be the father of his stepsister.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, all
I mean,
right.
half sister. Excuse me.
Wow.
So
Isn't he
Just
also from like
anybody
Eastern
needed-
Europe or something?
hmm?
That was the first strike.
Yeah.
I think
Apologies to
Yeah,
Europe.
I had to look-
arguably easier to beat though,
Oh, he is.
because can't you just beat Vigo by being nice to him, or love,
Or just
I mean,
spit
power of
some
love?
slime
yeah.
on him or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some love slime.
Well, it's love slime plus shooting behind him a little bit. It is easier to beat him, but
love slime.
that's what Jess is wearing.
Ghostbusters 2 is the glam rock of the Ghostbusters movies, okay?
Exactly.
And I
Way
love
more
it.
pink and glitter.
I feel like it could be a little bit more.
Give me more of that. Hey, by the way, Poison's touring next year, and I'm looking forward to it.
And you want to know another name? I was name dropping again. Joe Pitka. He's a commercial director, music video director. If you look him up, he directed the original Space Jam, but that was not his highlight. I think it was like Michael Jackson music videos and stuff. The dude looks like Vigo the Carpathian. And I was riding with, I hadn't met him. I'd never heard of him really till working on the set. And on the way there, I was riding with a fellow. Yeah. I was riding with a fellow co-worker, production worker. And he's like, oh, so you've never worked with him before. And he explained all this stuff to me. And he's like, he looks like Vigo the Carpathian. The dude is a total prick. He is a total fucking prick. I'd never work with that dude again after working with him. I don't even remember the commercial. He is an asshole. I stayed away from him on set as much as I could. I watched him throw football at some crew member. Just a fucking prick. I don't know how he continued to get work. Everybody thought he was a genius, I guess, in the commercial world. But
I'm going to tag him.
Joe
So-
Pitka.
He's kind of like
that
the
like little short guy. Like he's Vigo. Like you should hire him.
Vigo. Why do this?
A lot of Ghostbusters 2 fans. It's like, I have to have you on my movie.
Janusz is fantastic. Like Peter
Janusz
Dinklage
is
actually
great.
gives a damn about that role. Him making up like the making up a history for Carpathia, even though it's like don't need to do that. It's just a region. It's not actually a country, but yeah.
Brilliant.
I think this movie, the problem is, again, you're coming off of a classic, a Stone Cold classic. I think they leaned into the cartoon too much, because I think that cartoon was really popular, and the pressure to go more kiddie with this one was just there. Vigo is not the villain that we had in the original, much weaker. Everything's kind of a step down in this one. I don't think the gags hit as much for the most part. I will say there is some fantastic effects work in this. That is one thing that I think is held up quite well. But I think between just some of the script issues and everything, this is a movie where it's more nostalgia talking. You know, I still enjoy it, but I won't fight with somebody who says it's not a good movie, because it's not great.
Oh, I'll fight with somebody who says it's not a good movie. I mean, you were kind of right up until your last
It's
point there.
okay, but nostalgia is nostalgia.
Honestly, a
God
rewatch,
overall.
I don't think it's just nostalgia. It definitely takes a big step down, but it does have some great effects. It does have, here I'm going off on my stuff already, but it's got some great lines. I mean, the first one does too, but the Slinky, you got the Cheech cameo with the Titanic, better late than never. I mean, there's
you know one
Go
thing,
Ray gone.
I won't shit on number 2 for this, because it's each movie in a way, but one thing that always bothered me, how do you go from doing what you did in the first movie to like, oh, a few years have gone by, now I'm doing kid parties? Like, and people would have seen that, you know, memories weren't erased. Like, these
That's the
guys
thing.
would be rock stars.
That is a huge blind spot of this entire franchise, though. That's a
Yeah.
it's a giant problem, no lie, because like it carries over into Afterlife too.
It does. And
You
it
just got to fill in your head that, you know, the ghost, the paranormal activity kind of settles for a while. And
yeah, not after.
It's a
after
stretch.
I defeat like fucking giant marshmallow men and ghosts in the middle of New York, I'm gonna be famous as shit even 50 years from now. I just, and there's other, 24 is a good example, that show. It's like Kiefer Sutherland's walking around in future seasons as like, oh, I don't even know who you are. It's like, I saved the world 9 goddamn times. Like, it's I don't know, it's a little thing that bugs me. It always did.
But that all that, you know, goodwill that you earn for, you know, destroying all these ghosts and everything kind of goes away when you cost the city millions of dollars in damages and repairs, and then they have to tax the citizens to pay for it. So then the citizens start getting pissed off.
I will give,
and they touch on that throughout the movies.
Well, yeah, but
the last time you guys did this, you caused X amount of damage.
Well, then they, you know what? I'm going to give a tax pass if somebody saves me from giant fucking ghosts.
A logical person would, but when it really does start hitting the people's wallets, you know, they forget about.
You're trying to make sense of this, Jess, and you're not doing a good job.
Hey, Kory gave you the explanation just a second ago. I just agree with it.
But it's not where I'm trying to make sense of it.
It is mentioned in the movies. Like you said, there's a throughout, like Ghostbusters 2, that's kind of part of the plot is, hey, you guys tore this shit up. And
there's actually an injunction against them. They cannot do this stuff anymore. That was the whole point of the scene in the courtroom.
I get it. There'd be debate, but you know, another thing, and Sam and Chris, I know you're the biggest fans and you might know this, but wasn't the original script much darker? Like Dana's kidnapped to some shadow realm or something. If I remember right, it's been a long time.
Dana was kidnapped.
I don't know about details.
Yeah.
I know it was really out there, and I believe the Statue of Liberty was actually in the first script, but that first script would have probably cost like several $100 million if they tried to make it, and it wouldn't have worked anyway because there's like no grounding in reality for it. But eventually, Dan Aykroyd finally got his giant Statue of Liberty.
Which, as a kid, was fun to watch. It definitely didn't beat Stay Puft.
When we get there, yeah.
Well, I mean, I like the.
I don't like it.
You don't like it.
The Statue of Liberty is one of the effects that Industrial Light and Magic did an okay job with. I like that, and I like the bathtub, right? But I'm not gonna lie, like I don't want to see Peter McNichol dressing up as like an old, like as Mary Poppins ghost. What is happening there? This like there are like 2 effects in this movie that I'm solidly behind, and the rest I'm like, really?
What? Do I have bad breath or something? No?
Do what?
I'm doing my bad Janusz.
I didn't hear it. Okay. It's like fucking Janosch's flashlight eyes.
I like the flashlight eyes. As weird as that is.
It's useful. I get that, but it's just I don't know. It's just maybe it's just a weird time for effects, but just Richard Edlund's studio did such a better job with the visual effects in 1. You know, because he was just coming off of Poltergeist, and it's like, oh, that was top of the line for me.
Yeah, it's still, despite this not being as good as the original, weird that it took as long as it did for us. What, 26 years, something like that, to get another Ghostbusters movie. Always surprised me, but yeah, I know Bill Murray was a big holdout for a long time.
Yeah. So, can I complain about the mood slime? Because, like, I feel like the mood slime, the mood slime is actually a lot cooler and more complex than people give it credit for, right? Because think of the scene in the courtroom with the Scoleri brothers, right? So the judge is getting all pissed off and talking about burning the Ghostbusters at the stake. And just he's getting pissed off. You can see the mood slime bubbling, and then boom, out pop the Scoleri brothers. So I'm trying to figure out what's making the Scoleri brothers do that. Okay. So this negative energy is apparently tied up in a memory, right? A memory of the Scoleri brothers. Because think of it this way. If the mood slime was actually bringing the Scoleri brothers back from the dead, that's kind of a big problem. So I feel like those are copies, right? But the mood slime is having to, access the emotions of the judge, which is tied up with this memory of the Scoleri brothers. But here's the part that I'm kind of concerned about. So, did the judge see the Scoleri brothers get executed? Because I feel like that's pretty, I don't know what the laws in New York were like, but I feel like the chances of him getting to watch the execution pretty slim. Because New York stopped using the electric chair, I think, in around 63 or so. So, is the mood slime accessing the emotion that's tied into this memory of the judge imagining what he thought the Scoleri brothers were going through? Because that's a lot more fucking terrifying. Oh, it's accessing imagination. Great. But it doesn't explain to the other ghosts later on.
That is deep.
Not too much about it.
Brian and Holiday, hello. We're
What's up, guys?
kind of heated already in Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, I'll take this quick second to say I will defend Ghostbusters 2 as being a good movie because look at other movies that were classics for the first and sequels for the second one, and how many people actually go back and rewatch Jaws 2. Do people spend time going back and watch that movie? Not really. Unless
actually, I think that's Lauren's movie is Jaws 2. That's his job.
We can definitely discount it.
I think there's actually more fans, but I mean, let's be honest. I have fun with Jaws too, but it ain't Jaws.
I have fun, and that is a huge step. Yeah,
I would say I would say though, Ghostbusters 2 is a huge step down.
Step down.
I wouldn't. I look at it this way: Ghostbusters is an A movie. Ghostbusters 2 maybe an A-, high B+.
Yes.
B+. Good movie.
I don't think there's that big of a drop off.
I mean, again, for going up against, most of us agreed, a damn near perfect movie, you're not going to come that close. So a solid sequel is doing pretty effing awesome.
There's a reason they never made a sequel to Casablanca. So,
yeah, but this does scream sequel, and we'll get into it. But I've enjoyed some of these very much. I mean, I have a great memory, and here's the nostalgia with Ghostbusters 2. My dad took a friend and I. What is this? 89 now.
Yeah.
So I'm my son's age. Wow, 8 at that time, and yeah, I liked it a lot. Even then, I recognized that, oh man, this wasn't as great as Ghostbusters 1, but it's a solid movie. At the time, I didn't like the pink slime, nothing to do with the emotional part. I think I just wanted the classic green slime, which was actually more clear in the first one, but we all thought of it as green slime, I think. And that's all that. I'm going to defend it. It's a solid sequel. I think there's more than just nostalgia to it, of making it a good movie, and it is rewatchable still and enjoyable.
what's up, Ben?
Hey, Ben.
Bustin' makes Ben feel good.
Did any of us see this in theaters? I believe I did. I wouldn't remember. Okay.
My neighbor ended up buying it on VHS, so I watched it over at their house a lot.
I just realized I've seen all but 2016 in theaters, and I'm happy for this. It's not going to change.
Did you get a on the original, like a re-release?
Oh yeah, Yeah, me and Sam went to Alamo Draft House and saw a re-release for it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Because I didn't think. I mean, I don't know exactly how old you are, Chris, but I didn't think you'd remember.
Well, I'm younger than you.
Oh well, then yeah, you wouldn't have remembered.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mixed feelings on the statue scene. I liked it, but
I'll say that I don't. Okay, well I'll go.
But go into it, Cole. Get into it. I know you've been.
Well, this is the first Ghostbusters I saw. I saw it on video rented, and I was young enough. I would have been about 7. That Vigo scared me. My mom sort of had to calm me down and tell me that it was just a silly movie and it's just making fun of these types of things, and and it used to come on. In my experience, it came on TV a lot more than the original, which now looking back again makes sense because its content is more mild. It doesn't have the darker stuff. It doesn't have as much swearing and things like that. So that kind of stuff gets on TV more. So I saw it a lot throughout the 90s on TV. Like I said, at a certain point, obviously, I saw the first Ghostbusters so I could compare them. Didn't think it was as good, but I don't know. To me, it is very average and a big step down. I'm not calling it a bad movie because it's not, but there's a lot of weird leaps in the logic, and I know it's weird because the first movie is very silly. They're silly movies. They're supernatural, and you kind of bring up kind of whatever you want. But I just didn't really understand a lot of the stuff that was going on, or some of the logic behind it. It's interesting that the courtroom scene was brought up and analyzed because I hadn't thought of it that way, and maybe that explains why they looked the way they did. Why would he recognize them? They didn't look like humans. They looked like distorted nightmare cartoons, but he knew exactly who they were. So it's a good pull to say that it's from his subconscious fear. It's maybe the way he imagined them because he was so freaked out by them. But I thought that was kind of weird. Like that he instantly recognized these two very strange looking things as the Scoleri brothers when they were so grotesque and not really very human at all. Another thing that was big in the 80s was New York celebrating itself. I mean, I guess New York's always celebrating itself, right? Like New York always blathers on about how they're the best city in the world and stuff, and it's a little tiresome for the rest of us. And this movie is annoying too because there's also there's a couple different things that went on in New York in the 80s that showed up in media. One was that it was a hellhole full of crime and it was awful, and you'll get killed the second you step foot there. I love that in like Friday the 13th Part 8. Jason Goes to Manhattan. With him fighting in New York, they're like in an alleyway getting mugged. There's people shooting up heroin, and I think there's like radioactive waste in like barrels and stuff. So there's a lot of that going on. Ninja Turtles was the same. It was just like, go anywhere and you'll immediately get attacked. But there was also that weird perverse pride the New Yorkers took in it, and I didn't like that in this movie because they were talking about this stuff feeds off the negative energy. And they're like, well, you're telling us we have to tell New Yorkers to be nice to each other, and that's the joke. Like maybe New Yorkers think that's funny. I don't think it's funny. I don't care. We're all rude and we're proud of it. Like, I don't think that's funny. And I don't like the sentimentality. Ben was talking, and again, maybe this is me being the uppity Canadian, but watching the Statue of Liberty walk is so stupid. And why? How did they make this leap? This is the other thing. They're like, we need something that'll get the people involved and happy. How did they even know that it was possible? Based on what they knew about the ooze and how to use it, how did they think that this would make a statue come to life and walk for them? And why would this inspire everybody and not terrify the shit out of them even further? I mean, so I really find that moment dumb. And it's New York celebrating itself like it's the greatest city on earth. And there's Lady Liberty. I find it all schlocky as hell, really off-putting. And it really bothers me because to that point, I really like the Ghostbusters characters. I like those guys. But to see them sink to this level, this pandering shit really bothered me. So I still like the movie. I really have a problem with that. It feels like pandering. It feels like New York blathering on about how special and wonderful they are. And I don't know. And it all plays up to a climax that kind of feels anticlimactic to me. But I know now I'm sounding really negative. I still do like the movie. But yeah, I really have big problems with some of the writing. As it already been pointed out, it's been 5 years and suddenly nobody remembers the Ghostbusters or nobody believes what they did actually happened. It's only been 5 fucking years. What happened in the interim? Yeah. Stuff like that. So I feel like this movie, maybe the writing for this movie is rushed or something. Like maybe, it's definitely not as polished as the first one as far as writing goes. It feels like there's leaps and gaps and things. And they're just like, we'll just cover it up with this scene. We'll have a toaster jumping up and down. I don't know.
I think it was like 13 months from conception to finished product. So it is extremely rushed, and it really does suffer from it. But I love Higher and Higher. It's like the best part of the
I love that
statue.
song.
Mhm.
I love the song, but no, I
Yeah.
don't like the moments.
Hey, Jake.
Like I find it just overly schlocky and sentimental and nonsense. Even within the framework of a supernatural comedy, nonsensical. How on earth they made that leap that was what they should do and that they could actually do it? Like they had no proof. They had nothing that could show that they could do this. They just made it like, oh, we can obviously do this. We can make a big, giant statue come to life and make it walk down and we'll play music and people will get happy about it instead of being terrified.
It's science, Cole. It's science.
But they had the
Exactly
dancing
fine.
toaster, which also I have to point out, it's like first Ray fucked the ghost in the first one, then Ray's fucking the toaster in the second. So
I thought Egon was sleeping with the slime in the second one.
well, it's interesting because Peter goes, "You're not sleeping with it, are you, Ray?" So I feel like that's Ray sleeping.
I think
with
they
it.
both were banging the toaster, Egon and Ray.
Meanwhile, Egon has a
It was a-
family at home.
It was a love triangle, apparently. But
Oh, good lord.
But yeah, as much as I don't like that stuff, I still do like the movie. I'm glad it happened. I don't know. It's kind of weird, the trajectory. We'll get to it later. Because I remember like some people saying, it was kind of good that we didn't get like a Ghostbusters 3 in like 1992 or 93. Like maybe it was supposed to, because they're like, it probably would have been bad. But I'm just thinking, then we had to wait all those years for 2016, but we'll get there when we get there.
We're getting close, sadly.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish we would have gotten. I do
watched
agree
it
with you.
today.
Early '90s would have been too soon. But
Well, I just think I do think that maybe
Early
if it had been in the
2000s.
early 90s, if it was early 90s by then, I think everybody would have been sick of it. If they even got like Bill Murray back, he would have really been phoning it in, I think, because he already probably didn't even want to do the second one. So you can imagine if they like, I don't know, promised him something or twisted his arm to get him to do a third one, he probably wouldn't. I don't know. I'm not saying Bill Murray's unprofessional with phone things and I don't know, but you still want people to feel good about the project and what they're doing.
you do.
I feel like there would have been
when they released the
fatigue.
big Ghostbusters game would have been a good time for a real Ghostbusters 3.
Oh yeah, and that basically was the Ghostbusters 3 script, is the video game. It was set in '94, which is 5 years after 2, which is 5 years after the first one.
There you go.
Which a lot of people do try to take that as a third Ghostbusters movie, since we didn't get one with Egon. Truly,
Wasn't Ghostbusters 3 Hellbent? I could be wrong on that name. Wasn't that the
Ghost
script?
of Hell.
that was one of, I think, many scripts.
Yeah, that's the one I remember.
Yeah, I think it was Hellbent. There was that one. And then there was the where
Yeah, we're
Ghostbusters
gonna-
go to hell. And
Are
then
they
there
going
was
to take
another-
on Pinhead?
No, actually, it's a character named Luke Sipler, like Lucifer, and it's supposed to be like a
Ooh.
Donald Trump, like a real estate mogul, and it was supposed to be played by Alec Baldwin. That's
Oh, I could see that.
That's
And actually-
surprisingly. That's on point, actually.
Scary.
Never even
Yeah.
put older Alec Baldwin does kind of look like Trump a little bit.
Well, he was
That's
in
a
SNL.
biopic now that at least should happen.
well. I
Never-
mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe he'll go back to that now.
Did he do it on SNL? I haven't watched SNL in a very long time.
I
obviously.
fucking hate SNL.
Oh,
I'm
it's terrible.
sorry, it hasn't been funny in a long time. I miss Mad TV though.
Ooh, I love Mad TV.
I
I
miss
preferred in
SCTV.
Living Color.
Living Color was great too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never got to watch that. It never came on.
In Living
But
Color.
I like Mad TV. Yeah. I had to find that was one of those things I had to find out like years after the fact because people are like, Jim Carrey got his start on In Living Color. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're like, what's her name? Was a dancer on In Living Color. It did. I didn't have channels that had it.
I would
I
have
guess.
loved a Fire Marshal Bill movie, but
They tried. There was supposed to be a Homie the Clown movie even at one point.
that would have been great too.
I loved Tommy the Clown back then. But
Never
here we are getting-
materialized.
But yeah, I used to watch Mad TV after school.
I used
think
to pull
Will
that shit on
Sasso's a
my
really
kids.
underrated guy, I think, right?
Oh, he is.
Will,
Yeah.
Will Sasso. He does not get the credit he deserves for being a really comedically talented guy.
It's hilarious. It's Steven Seagal parodies or
Oh,
Oh,
classic.
my God. Oh, so good. Kenny Rogers, jackass.
Yeah.
Dan,
I'm not trying to
wasn't-
derail the show, but man, that's good stuff.
Dan,
I-
wasn't Will
Good.
Sasso taking the bumps when they had the Three Stooges on Monday Night Raw?
Yeah. I remember.
He's a big mark. Like literally.
How the hell do you do a Three Stooges movie and not cast Jim Carrey to play Mo?
You do.
That kind of money. They've got
You
Will
don't-
Sasso and
you
Sean
don't
Busey.
cast him.
I don't.
Play Mo.
No.
Yeah.
Jim
Remember,
Carrey.
like,
Jim Carrey would have
Could-
nailed that role. He proved it when he did Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Maybe he probably would have thought it was too close to Dumb and Dumber. But like I said, probably couldn't have
Yeah.
Jim Carrey.
He was in Eternal Sunshine mode, I think, around that time. Like, I think he was looking to do other things. I don't think he would have gotten him for that, but maybe now. I don't know.
All right. I think we've delayed this as long as we can, Jess.
Well, and speaking of In Living Color, hated
Good
it.
God.
Yeah. When did they add the answer the call thing? Because I was looking up stuff about
Oh.
it today, and I was like, I don't remember that in the original marketing answer the call.
When they realized they needed to distinguish between the original and this piece of
Yes.
crap.
So
Mm.
whenever they brought it to home video, they made it answer the call. So I remember seeing that in stores going, what the fuck is this shit? And they had to do that because when people go to the store and ask, I want the Ghostbusters. No. The bad one. The one the one with all the women or whatever. So they couldn't say the female Ghostbusters. They had to have their own Ghostbusters. It became answer the call for marketing purposes.
That
Okay.
really says something because we live in
I
an
think we're all
age of like
bursting here.
reboots, right? Where everything had like where the first reboot has the same title. Anyway, this was a reboot that was so bad that they rejected it having the same title. They're like, no, you don't get to be Ghostbusters. No, even though like a million other shitty remakes got to have that distinction. Am I sorry? Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I don't know if it was, maybe it was something related to the fact they didn't want people calling it Lady Ghostbusters, but that's what it is.
Mhm.
I don't know why people have to get so offended at that.
That's honestly not. That's not my problem with it.
Oh, no.
No,
It's just
no,
not what
that's-
I wanted to see,
Yeah,
and it's
It's
badly
like-
written.
okay. Now, like breaking down, like the actors involved are all pretty good comedic
Great.
talents.
Hilarious ladies,
Like-
yeah.
Yeah,
this is
and,
gonna
like-
go badly for me. This is gonna go so badly for me.
Just let it rip. But Paul Feig, I liked Bridesmaids. I thought Bridesmaids was really funny. It was like, oh, Paul Feig's directing, and it's got two of the gals from Bridesmaids. All right, let's do this.
Should be fun, yeah.
Yeah, and I was really starved for Ghostbusters content in 2016. I went to see it with a friend of mine, and I had the best time. And that nostalgia bump did not last a year. So I'll tell you something. But yeah, that quickly wore off. But it's like all these elements should work together. But between the writing and the fact that Paul Feig isn't taking control of his actors and directing them to do things, he's just letting them go wander off. What are you doing? It's terrible.
Yeah.
There are one or two jokes in the movie that I do laugh at, though. Like
I think that's the kindest thing I could say about it. I don't have much, but yeah, I didn't make it to the theater, but we rented it right away. And as much as I don't like remakes, I do give everyone a chance because there have been some remakes, reboots that I've enjoyed thoroughly. But I just couldn't watching this thing. There was a couple of jokes, yes, that were kind of made me chuckle, but in the long run, it's unmemorable movie. It's not that funny. And I do think a lot of it, yes, it's just not the Ghostbusters we all wanted. I mean, I would have appreciated the ones everybody made a cameo in the movie, including Bill Murray, and that ticked me off at this point because he had been refusing to do a real third Ghostbusters movie. But I don't like that they're playing all different characters.
Yeah.
I think it may have helped slightly if they were in universe, but honestly, I'm glad it isn't, so they can just write this off as its own thing.
I mean, technically, like they could have been in universe, except the stinger at the end credits fucks all of that up, and I'll tell you why. But which is like it actually infuriates me that they put this in the stinger at the end. Anyway, but I mean, everybody could just be under witness protection and assuming different identities. that would explain why Ray Stantz, why Dan Aykroyd is the cab driver, happens to know all of the different classifications of ghosts.
That would make more sense.
Who's Kevin? Oh, that's Oscar grown up. But yeah, and I don't really have a great explanation for Sigourney Weaver's character. But speaking of which, one of the stingers, you see a close up of the containment unit, and in the containment unit, there's it's Vince Clortho. Vince Clortho is in the containment unit. And Dana Barrett is in the containment unit.
Yeah, because it's a list of names of the ghosts inside the containment unit. It has V. Clortho, D. Barrett.
I don't know what to make of that.
I didn't catch that.
I honestly, it also the bathroom in the Ghostbusters headquarters has 3 plungers.
What?
I swear to God.
I was too busy looking at my wife trying to get her to make out with me instead of watching the movie. Like,
I know I shouldn't know that, but I do.
You're saying that's a bad sign.
It's full of shit, literally. You need 3 plungers for it.
And that's it.
All right,
that says it all right there, Sam.
But I will say, all Ghostbusters Answer the Call 2016, whatever you want to call it, is very similar to the first Ghostbuster in the sense that it's all known for its jokes. Just this one, they're fucking terrible.
Pretty much.
That's another way to sum it. Yep.
Nothing is deadpan. Everything is over the top. Like, I had this fucking rant on me and Sam's episode on this, where like I feel like this whole Answer the Call shit is a coin flip of the original Ghostbusters. Each character is a coin flip of the original character. From Peter being a coin flip to what's her face, the professor. Like terrible game, can't get anybody. Like everybody's a fucking coin flip. And then also same way for the script, it's a coin flip of the jokes. They're not subtle. They're not deadpan. They're not any of these things. It's loud, in your face, blowing up shit, and repeated ad nauseum. Like the fucking soup. Who cares about fucking soup?
You're averaging a soup joke every 30 minutes.
As much as dancing. It's all the dancing.
Ben Grimm says he generally liked the cast, like we said, but the villain was terrible.
Exactly. Another terrible villain.
Yeah, Pink Ecto 1. I mean, not to mention, I don't even want to bring it up again, but those uniforms. What did you say they look like, Kory?
High-vis jumpsuits.
Yeah, like sanitation workers.
They look like road workers.
Yeah, road workers, sanitation workers, that shit.
Thor was funny in it.
Yeah, they're not distinctive at all.
There was definitely, that was one of the couple of funny moments, but even that kind of got old with him.
Oh,
and the jokes.
The whole thing was like, oh, he's good looking, but he's dumb. Just over and over
Mm-hmm.
and over.
It was like funny once.
Well, because it's a coin flip of Janine Melnitz, as opposed to the smart, sassy, takes no nonsense person. Yeah. Now you got, the dumb blonde guy.
Who are you going to call? Again, I got to stop with my horrible impressions tonight.
Well,
it took me a minute to sort that one out.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Very cool.
Now, there was a proton pack usually covering this.
What happened to the proton pack?
It's up in the I'm not wearing that thing. It's up in the closet somewhere.
Oh, well, I figured you wanted to be authentic on the podcast, Jess. I want to see the proton pack.
I'd be sitting up here.
Well, they suffer for your art, Jess.
Well, you can kind of see it in the picture here.
Yeah,
there you go.
It lights up in the back, but I didn't. Yeah, I don't have a picture.
It's so cool looking.
How do you look older then than now?
A lot of work.
Wow. See, in Iowa, we age backwards.
Oh, okay. It's something in the water.
Button.
Yeah.
We can't even make some of these jokes in front of Jess. Come on, that's bad. Now I feel bad.
Come on. We just lost a few viewers.
This movie is not a large part, but a good chunk of the reason why I refuse to watch Terminator Dark Fate.
No.
I'm just tired of the stupid agenda-filled fucking movies that like over fucking kill what they're trying to fucking push. And they kill the bad guy by fucking shooting him in the balls. I mean,
Mhm.
I didn't even know that until it was
like
until
it
Chris
worked.
pointed
It worked in 21 Jump Street. It didn't work in this one.
Yeah.
And I
But
have a theory on the whole Bill Murray thing, not wanting to do a new Ghostbusters movie. He had to wait for the Cubs to win the World Series. We won it in 2016. You got 2 more fucking Ghostbusters movies.
out. But that's honestly like so rude because they had to have. There was that clause in that in their contracts where it was like there was going to be another Ghostbusters movie. It's like him, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis, and I guess Ivan Reitman all had to sign off on it. Ivan Reitman had to have it offered to him, like the directing offered to him first. Which, hey, good, very cushy to put in your contracts, but kind of gums up the works.
When you got the leverage, you use the leverage.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I mean, I remember watching this for the first time, and the online like pre-hate for it was strong. People were ready to hate it. So my expectations going in were very low, and although once again we're nowhere near the original, I mean that was apparent. I didn't think it was the worst thing ever. I'll say some nice things about it. I think with better material, Kate McKinnon I think would have fit in very well. She's got that quirky vibe about her that in a better movie, I think she could have been a very popular character going forward. Melissa McCarthy's miscast. I like Kristen Wiig. In fact, if you've seen some of her more dramatic work, I mean, it's a dark comedy, but Welcome to Me is a really good
Skeleton
one.
Twins.
Skeleton Twins, Welcome to Me. Yeah, those are 2 Kristen Wiig movies where you can see she's a very talented lady. And again, I think better materials, she could have worked. Melissa McCarthy's just, she's there. I mean, it's not, not really what I would put Melissa McCarthy in. And Leslie, I don't know, not very funny, but I think that's more the material again. But, I mean, the movie, it's not great, but is it really that much worse than 2? I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
God,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. It's much worse than 2.
Excuse
What?
me.
Hey, Dan,
What?
you wanna just? Oh wow!
I took care of it.
Did you
Thank you,
Did you
Jess.
just kick him out?
Into the shadow realm with him.
You've been banished,
No.
Dan.
I know. Unpopular opinion. I just maybe if I had to,
I feel a
pick,
lot better than
maybe,
what I'm going to do now.
maybe I give 2 by that much, but not by
I know.
much.
I'd rather you hate 2 more than bring 2016 up to closer to 2.
I'm not trying to bring it up. Honestly, with this
That's a good
one,
way to
I
put it.
think it's a mediocre modern movie. It's not the worst thing ever made. I don't know.
No, it's not the worst thing ever made, but it was pretty
no.
god awful.
It is.
It is, but I will say there were a lot of minds made up going into it.
Hey,
I
other Chris
will
at Slasher
say
Home
that
Video.
much. What up, Chris? I think that this one, I don't know. It probably just shouldn't have happened, to be honest.
Yeah.
Dan, do we need to talk to Jonathan and tell him to stop sending you stuff?
Yeah.
You're
You and
smoking
Ben
something,
hang out and
bud.
Watch Ghostbusters answer the call.
Yeah, there's some moments. I mean, it's not a boring film. I mean,
No.
It really is. It's just not memorable. I don't, and I don't want to go back and rewatch it either.
I don't disagree. I figured this one. I don't want to come out like I'm the big 2016 fan. I'm not. I think it has some moments, and I like Kate McKinnon quite a bit. That is the one thing I genuinely like about the movie. So
I don't think
some
most of us would
positivity.
argue again that the cast wasn't the problem.
Unlike
No,
you guys, I don't hate
gonna
women.
argue
so-
that.
Well,
Yeah,
hold on. Cole's got to go. Yeah, Cole's gonna.
Hot tag,
But
Cole,
again-
go for it.
But also, Dan, with this kind of take from you, I feel like I get more hate mail than you got for Halloween Kills.
Oh,
Halloween Kills, I would be making fun of you right now if you like Halloween Kills, but
You
I
want
won't even be nice. about it.
seconds.
I like.
You were
We'll get
90
back to
seconds
that.
of to say anything about Halloween Kills because your connection was bad because of a storm. And
I
all of the
I-
hate mail.
All the
I
hate mail.
feel like Piz like knew that like the channel at that point would just get blown up if I spoke. I think he was behind that, but I don't know. If you like Halloween Kills, yeah.
Why are we talking about Halloween Kills? It's 2024.
Yeah, I won't segue. Cole, you were about to shit on this.
Yeah.
Yes. Save us.
Okay, I'll try to start with positives, or I'll frame it first. One is I did not care. As I said, I don't care about Ghostbusters as a franchise. I feel like it's just a point of diminishing returns over and over again. So by the time we got to 2016, in my mind, there were 2 Ghostbusters movies. One excellent, one not so great, but I still liked it for reasons. Then, 15 to 20 some years passed, whatever. And I wasn't excited for a new one, even if they brought back the old cast. So I couldn't get excited for this. So then, of course, I saw all the stuff, the reactions before it even came out. And I was like, that's really toxic, and I don't need to get mired in that. I didn't go see the movie. I didn't watch the movie for like 2.5 years. I watched the movie today, so that's the last thing I watched. That's in my brain. And I mean, by the time I saw
am
it,
so
I still
sorry,
felt
Cole.
I still had to feel bad about myself because everybody that hates the movie still says the same thing. And we've already heard it. The same thing is, I don't have any problem with women. And in fact, these women are all very talented. Just the script and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. I don't like these women. I don't like any of them. And I'm the only person in the world that doesn't like Kristen Wiig. You're talking about SNL going downhill. A lot of people are like, SNL went downhill, but Kristen Wiig was one of the things that held it together. I don't feel that way. I hate her on SNL. I hate her characters. So, I mean, I can't even hold back. I hate Kristen Wiig's work. I hate her dramatic work. I can't stand Skeleton Twins and made me want to shoot myself in the head. So she's supposed to be the really bright spot in this movie, and I can't stand it. Melissa McCarthy, I don't have problems with, but as you said, totally miscast in this movie. It doesn't play to her strengths at all. Not that I think her strengths are any good. Leslie Jones, one note type thing, and Kate McKinnon is just bizarre. She's bizarre to me. I can't wrap my head around her style of humor. I get it. People say quirky. I don't know. I like a lot of actors and actresses that are quirky. I don't find her quirky. I find her odd and off-putting in most things, and in this too. So for me, I have to come across as like the woman hater and stuff like that, which I don't think is fair because I don't have a problem with a lady Ghostbusters or a feminine agenda. They could, I don't know, shoot tampons. I don't care. I don't like these women. And that's why everyone's going to not come down on me and like me, because they're all like, no, the message here is clear. Women are fine. And these are some talented, wonderful women. It's just, I don't feel that way. I don't think any of them are talented or wonderful. I think they're all mediocre garbage. And Paul Feig, it's not his type of thing either. Like you said, his directing style is weird. And it doesn't work with this sort of writing. It's not witty. It's not irreverent. It's not subtle. It's all, let's do 10,000 takes of, you guys riffing and see what goes. And that works with certain comedians and in certain scripts. It doesn't work here. And like I said, the humor is very just hitting you over the head with stuff. I don't know. So I don't want to be a broken record, and I don't want to repeat myself a million times, but I knew how this is going to go. Because everybody who says that even they don't like the movie still has to stand up and defend those actresses. And I can't do it. I don't like any of them. And I especially don't like the one everyone loves, Kristen Wiig.
Climate.
Everybody loves Kristen Wiig, and I don't understand what's wrong with the world. I find her so irritating. But anyway, the positives are it has a very good look. It has good cinematography. It makes good use of the city, New York. It has nice, bright, vibrant colors. It has good effects. And at least when there's action scenes happening, they are a lot, better executed than the older movies. The older movies, they kind of just stood there and blasted. In this, there's movement. They're diving around. Stuff, they get picked up and thrown. I'm not saying that's amazing. It's not the Jackie Chan stunt team, but it's some at least interesting action and choreography. So I like that. Somebody brought up that sort of parade towards the end, the weird apocalypse of the dead. I did like that. I liked those creatures. It was interesting. And actually, I feel like a lot of the Ghostbusters, even the original, all kind of suffer from being kind of anticlimactic. This one I feel isn't really anticlimactic. It is kind of an exciting climax. It's just that I don't care because I don't like the characters, and so it would, if I liked the characters, I'd be like, bravo, you guys pulled off a good finale, but I don't like the characters, so it doesn't work for me. So I'm just trying to pull something positive out of this. So I'll say that it has some good sort of action to it, good effects. It looks good. Oh, and the music is awful. It's horrible music all the way through. I hate the new music they inject. I don't even mind Fall Out Boy as a band, but what they did to that song is just a crime. I really hate it. It's really obnoxious. Again, I just watched this today, so like the soundtrack is very in your face and obnoxious. The whole movie has an obnoxious vibe to me, mostly because of the principal actors, unfortunately. But as Jess said early on, I think it's really pathetic when you're doing like a reboot or something, and then you bring back classic actors and just recast them in stupid little roles. Like, who's that supposed to please? Are we supposed to be happy? Yeah, there's Bill Murray, but he's playing a completely different character that's not important to the plot. We're going to throw him out the window for a joke. Stuff like that. Like, I feel like it's more insulting than, entertaining or helpful. It's kind of insulting. So, man, I don't know. It was weird because, like I said, I avoided the movie for years, not because I was such a big Ghostbusters fan, but because I just didn't have interest in Ghostbusters. Just like when they rebooted it again, did 2 more movies, and I eventually watched those. I couldn't get excited about them either, although they're certainly better than this movie. But yeah, this movie, I just feel bad because I know I have a lot of negativity towards it, and I know my negativity is worse than other people's because other people all want to defend these great talented actresses and say it's not their fault. It is their fault. They fucked up the movie completely with their crappy, inept performances. So there you go.
Fuck it.
I just want to reiterate again, I have no problem with women.
Well, I do.
I
Well, I
don't
hope
have
it's
a
very
problem with
clear.
women. I just don't. I don't like this fucking movie. It
Oh, that's
sucks.
terrible.
I will say this. I blame my wife for this. I do have a guilty pleasure. I like the show. I like the show The Gilmore Girls, and I think Melissa McCarthy is actually really good in that show. But
Yeah,
She's good in a lot of things, and I'll argue that. Mike and Molly, I
sitcom
love that
comedy.
show.
But
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Gilmore Girls, she's more reserved. It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah,
she's
I
the
never
quirky
saw that.
neighbor, but she's not like shouting and
yeah,
bombastic.
I've
and
heard that
huge.
before too, Chris. I have a friend who loves Gilmore Girls, and he hates her when she gets in those higher, energetic, I'm the
Yeah.
fat lady roles. It really
Yeah.
She doesn't
really
actually
makes
do
me
that
mad.
much of that in this movie. That's why I think, so, again, she's miscast because she's actually quite reserved in this movie. When I mean, she has some snarky lines, but she's not like yelling. I don't know. It's not like you see like the comedy like The Heat. Like she does nothing like that. She's not crude and crass and loud and bombastic. And I'm thinking that's her thing. That's what she does. And in this movie, she's not like that. Like I don't feel like she fits in. But
I think she's
it
shouting.
doesn't
her
matter because I don't
lines
think any of
like
them
she
fit in.
is.
So
I think that's the problem. Is she's shouting her lines like she is being crude and bombastic, which is why I feel like she's being crude and bombastic. Like she has the same kind of tone of voice in this one, like The Heat and things like that, without going as far physically, but it's already kind of ingrained in my mind. Like, oh, she's doing this kind of stuff.
I didn't buy their phony friendships either. Like there's
Oh,
this whole
no, not at all.
backstory about how they knew each other when they were younger. And Erin is Wig. She's all like talking about how she saw ghosts as a kid and got made fun of and made called Ghost Girl, and the other one was her only friend during the whole thing. I don't know. I mean, if you don't want your movie to be criticized by people that are already against it because they have some problem with women, not me, but other people, don't make something with that kind of emotional pull to it, right? Like, can you just imagine like the original Ghostbusters having like kind of that sappy backstory to them about how they're friends forever? That doesn't work. So
No. But also, all I to say is it also hurts the movie by opening the movie with a fucking Austin Powers joke you stole. I brought this up in me and Sam's episode where the whole is this your book? And then it's like the whole this is your penis pump joke, just with a book instead.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he says, it's not my book. Oh, is this your picture in it? Oh, it's not me. All keep going and going and going.
Yeah, that is bad.
I do
I
have
agree.
to say
I
that
like Bridesmaids a lot.
I do not like Bridesmaids. I thought that movie was boring.
I saw some of it, but I didn't keep watching. I saw a few minutes of it. Maybe there were good parts. I'm not going to judge Bridesmaids because I didn't watch it all the way through. But I saw some of it and was like,
Yeah, it was fine.
I'm not coming across well here because there are movies that have like lots of female characters or predominantly female casts that I like. We're just not talking about them today.
Well, sadly, I think this movie stirred that up, and is why I think a lot of us have to feel like we have to clarify that, because at this time, and I think even still now, you can't say you hate this movie without somebody saying, "Oh, well, that's just because you hate women," or that's because it was
Exactly.
an all-female cast. And
I
that's
know,
not
but I don't
true.
even have the same
No.
defense everyone else has though, because everyone else's defense is I think these women are great, and I don't. You know, so it makes me look terrible.
Yeah,
It's
I
fine.
honestly do.
I was saying, sorry, Jess. I literally had this conversation at my job last month or so, where somebody found out, oh, you like Ghostbusters? Yeah, I love Ghostbusters. What do you think of the 2016 one? I'm not a big fan of Ghostbusters, but I heard people who don't like it. I was like, oh, God damn it. So I had to like give a little speech because they were already prepared. If I was going to say I didn't like it, oh, you hate women. And I can't do that at work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why
You don't even want to get into that argument in some of those situations.
Exactly.
I think this
mean,
one.
Go ahead, Jen. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just was going to say, I think this one, in terms of the pre-online judgment, again, it ended up not being great, but the pre-online judgment was just insane. This might be top 5 in terms of fighting on message boards and social media that I've seen.
As much as I dislike this movie, I don't understand people's crazy overreactions. Like, I don't know you.
I think you have to move on from legacy characters. This didn't work, maybe, but you do kind of have to just move on at a certain point. And I don't need to just see them for 2 seconds in meaningless cameos either. Just move on, try your best to create something new. And I'll throw out one defense of Melissa McCarthy, and it's not a strong one, but she did also do a dramatic role as Lee Israel in Can You Forgive Me? Can You Ever Forgive Me? She was good in that. So not great here, but she's another one, not untalented, just not good for this movie.
I do have one other complaint about this movie, and I'll make it quick, and it's probably very superficial, but the firehouse is part of Ghostbusters. You can't just, oh, well, we're going to put you in an apartment above a fucking Chinese restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an issue with that too.
That's a good point.
You can't.
Now, are we ready to move on? Because I know Sam and Chris are on some limited time now. We're gonna lose them.
Oh, yes.
And I would love to hear their thoughts on these next few. But if you guys are ready to move on.
Yep. Let's go, Jess.
The real, to me, Ghostbusters 3, now, Afterlife. Guess you want to start us off again, Chris?
Sure.
You and Sam want to make
Me and Sam just watched that today for repeat. We watched our 4K we picked up. Really good. And it kind of cemented why we like the first 2/3 of the movie. Why that's really good. And then why the third act is just horse shit that is fed to us.
Yeah. I mean, I will say one thing. For some reason, the 4K DVD, man, it looks so much better than I remember seeing it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
So, I enjoyed it on the rewatch more, but the first part of this movie, they're actually world building. They're giving us new characters, and the dialogue doesn't sound as just stilted and very written out like 2016's did. They feel like real characters for the most part. But damn, that third act, it still kind of sucks. Like, I feel like it sucks less, but it still sucks. Like, we know how Ghostbusters ended. Why are we doing this again? Just the same build up with fucking Zool and Vince Clortho and Gozer, and it's like, I know, I was here from the beginning, guys. Can you just give me something as slightly different with Gozer? I feel like that's almost they were on that track. But then, I don't know, the studio was like, no, make it like the original. Because everybody likes the original. Everybody loves Ghostbusters. Make it like that.
Exactly. But the first 2/3 was more like the original than the last third because of the subtlety of the jokes and the lines. Whenever they released the terror dog out of the old trap, they're like, it has a big crazy scene and so forth. And then Chloe talks to
Phoebe.
Paul Rudd. Phoebe talks to Paul Rudd. I don't know names.
It's the O and the E that's throwing you off.
It is. Phoebe talks to Paul Rudd and says, "Aren't you an adult?" He's like, "Yeah," and libel. Like, that's a very small deadpan delivery joke that is very original Ghostbusters. They kind of pick up after like multiple viewings, so like, "Oh, that's funny," kind of stuff. As opposed to once again 2016 bullshit.
Yeah. And it's funny though, because it's like here we are, because it's like, again, they are just aiming for, again, original Ghostbusters because that was lightning in a bottle. I feel like they're successful because like we have podcast, new character. It's just a tiny Ray. And it's so adorable and it's so funny. And seeing his friendship with Phoebe grow, it's like watching tiny Ray and tiny Egon. I love it.
I agree. I like the new characters a lot. But for you two, especially, I mean, and all of you, did you like the original Ghostbusters coming back to on top of that? See, I love a great mix. I love the passing of the torch in the way because I love the new characters, but I do want to see the Ghostbusters that I know. I don't care if they're old. I want to see them, and I wanted more of them in this movie.
I thought the amount that they were there was fine. Like, I think if they were in there too much, it would have been like, hey, don't really need you here. Like, I feel like fucking Bill Murray and Annie Potts do not need to be in Frozen Empire. Just, y'all got nothing to do. I thought them showing up at the end was fine. It's just, I don't know.
I would like to see him sprinkled a little more. I get you. I don't need the whole movie. I understand they couldn't lead a movie, or I'd probably hate it if they were like focused on a bunch of old fat guys trying to ghost bust.
So,
but
I will say is how they were used. So when they first introduced Dan Aykroyd, it's back at the bookshop and so forth, kind of laying down some lore about him and Egon. That was great. I loved that. But later on, when he's back in the suit and doing everything like he did in the first movie, okay, we don't need to repeat. We saw it before.
Well, you also kind of, have to have that part for them because they need to wrap up their own stories with Egon's passing. So that's why I don't hate it as much as I did, kind of. Like, I can see it works and it's like, okay, I can appreciate it more now on a second viewing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the beat for beat stuff when we're doing like the Terror Dogs and Gozer and fuck the mini puffs. The mini puffs are fucking terrible. Get those
They
out.
are the Ewoks of Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Get the mini puffs
I
out
agree,
of the movie.
Chris.
of course, I'm the guy who didn't mind Jar Jar that much, so it's not my favorite. But come on, the Walmart scene that cracked me up, and
That's when the movie starts going down for me. Is that Walmart scene? From then on, it's
Well, like the part that I like, for some reason, this really annoys me. But when Carrie Coons, who plays the mom, right, and she gets possessed by Zool, and she sees Paul Rudd, and she just goes whoosh, and her plaid shirt and jeans are gone, and it's this beautiful dress, like she's a fucking magical girl, and I'm just like, no, this is awful. And I was just like, I don't need this. I really don't. And then J.K. Simmons in there for 2 lines as Evo Shandor. Y'all had some J.K. Simmons money. Okay.
Does he have to be in everything? J.K. Simmons has been like every third movie for the last like 10 years. I'm just very tired.
I didn't even realize it was him when I first watched it in the theater.
He's Santa Claus coming up this December.
Yeah.
Oh, another.
I don't know if we need that.
Yeah.
Ben
So
Grimm
he's gonna
wanted to change the
Santa
location.
Claus in that movie is going to do the Yellow M&M as well at the same time.
It's the Rock movie. Yeah, it's like he gets kidnapped. Then the Rock and Captain America have to like recapture him from Krampus or something. Looks bad.
That sounds like just a bunch of different movies put together, but okay.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Chris,
It's
I'm
Killer
sorry.
Snowman,
I
though.
didn't mean to interrupt you because I hijacked what you were trying to talk about, and I was like, "Quick, let me just take this whole train and direct it over here."
That's the
I
rumble,
forgot what
Sam.
we're talking about anyway.
What?
That is the
forgot what we're
rumble.
talking about anyway. That's Rumble, yeah.
The way of the Rumble.
Yep.
So do you guys want to go ahead and, for Sam and Chris, you guys want to go ahead and give your thoughts on Frozen Empire before you guys have to jump off? Or
Yeah,
Or do you have a-
yeah. I mean, Chris, you go first because otherwise I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to spend these last 2 minutes just talking.
Yeah. Frozen Empire, liked it a little more than Afterlife. It had original villain that was cool. It made well use of the new actors. Kumail Nanjiani was like my favorite out of that movie. Like he stole it from me compared to everybody else. He was fun. Before the end, kind of like Afterlife, Bill Murray at the first kind of scene was great. Kind of recreating the little fucking scene from the first movie, throwing pins at him. That was funny. But then he shows up at the end fully in his outfit again. I'm like, oh, really? And same thing for Jeannie Melnitz. It's like, we don't need to give Jeannie a fucking backpack. She's fine. She's like 60 something.
Agreed.
I know. Yeah, and it's like Ghostbusters in that final battle. One or two are effective.
I almost feel like she was suited up, and that was like what Rick Moranis should have been doing in this movie in Frozen Empire.
That would have been really cool. No pun
Potentially,
intended.
but this one was more like the old cartoon. So if you like the cartoon back in the day, you probably like this one.
It definitely has a lot of the cartoon stuff pulled
feels
from
to
it.
it.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I think Jeannie got the backpack, is because in one episode or two episodes, she actually does use the proton pack.
Mm.
Yeah. I was happy to see them, because I mean, like, let's be fair, like every Ghostbusters movie is the apocalypse.
Yes.
Every Ghostbusters movie is an army of the undead all the time. It's never going to change, but at least this one felt more like a fun monster of the week type of thing, where it's like, yes, I know it's the apocalypse. Yes, I know you have an army of the undead, but you're kind of more interesting. There were just a lot of different storylines happening, you know?
It's an issue nowadays in general. Like even some of the Marvel films, I'm like, it doesn't always have to be the entire world. Just give me a good villain, from the comics that
This
they
takes
tangle
felt
with.
a little lower.
Yeah.
Well, the first Ghostbusters movie is like the original big portal in the sky movie. Now that didn't take off right away, but in the 2010s, was after like Avengers, it was kind of quite a few movies had, there's a big portal in the sky, whether we're getting sucked into another dimension or things are going to come through from another dimension or it's an alien invasion. We got to shut that thing down. We got to stop that, And it's funny that Ghostbusters is, I think, the first movie to do it. And it didn't get copied for a long time. It wasn't really till the 2010s that it took off. But I think it's the earliest movie I can think of with big portal in the sky, got to stop it type thing going on.
Yeah, I remember seeing Suicide Squad in the theater, and I was just like, this is just Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
No. At least at the end. I wish
Get to the top of that tall building and stop that portal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Frozen Empire was I was pretty happy with it, and it's sort of like, I was like really having like just really tired of like just having Stranger Things just rammed down my throat for like years on end, when it's like, I still don't know when this goddamn series is ending. These kids are going to be 30 years old by the time we get there. Can we just please hurry it the fuck up?
Oh, don't get me started on that. That's been my biggest bother, and I love Stranger Things.
Yeah,
and I even think the last season was really solid, and I was surprised at how good it was after the hiatus they had in that one.
Yeah, I agree. Really, really liked it. I'm really looking forward to wrapping up the show. I'm done.
Yeah, I was 3 years ago.
Yeah, and like for real though, it's like, no, I don't want to see Finn Wolfhard in anything, right? So it's like when he was in Afterlife, it's like, all right, at least it wasn't focused around him. Frozen Empire, he has even less to do. He gets a fun scene with Slimer. I'm like, this is great. This is the exact amount of Finn Wolfhard I can tolerate.
It's about
That's
perfect.
all he had. I love Phoebe though. Like that is one thing.
Yeah.
I think these two movies in general, just backtracking a bit, I guess, to Afterlife. But
Well, we're going to.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll save it
So
then.
hold your thought. Yes, big fan of podcasts. Big fan of, again, most of the new characters I really love.
Oh yes.
Yeah. You don't move on. It's like the others had their movies.
But I'm
move
not
on.
going that far. I think it
But you
does
only
take
have
the-
90 minutes to 2 hours roughly to tell a story. You can't just drop in 100 characters from the past, especially when they have
can
nothing
be used
interesting
right.
to do.
Yeah, I mean that's the point. That's the problem. If they can
Yeah,
find something interesting for them to do and not just pop them in at the end. What did
I love Annie Potts. I figured they'd have something for her. Just seeing her put the suit on is not enough for me.
Yeah. There is a
I agree
deleted
with
scene
this.
in Afterlife where she has, she gets some extra dialogue, and I was like, why didn't they leave this in? And she finds the St. Christopher coin that she gave to Egon, the first one.
Oh,
He
speaking
kept
of
it all
Afterlife,
preserved. Yeah.
I was like, speaking of Afterlife, me and Sam watched the movie once again today. We paused for when she's looking through the collage of photos. She was born before the first movie.
Yeah.
Egon had a secret family the entire time of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, if you go by the
Egon the player.
Thankfully, I didn't think
Exactly.
too hard about that till you mentioned it.
Like,
Oh.
dude.
Well, excellent. You guys have any final thoughts? Because I know you.
So far, I think in my ranking, though, to be honest, because it's like we haven't gone back and rewatched Frozen Empire yet, because we still need to still need to do Afterlife for my show. But right now, like it's Ghostbusters 1, 2, Afterlife, Frozen Empire, and then obviously 2016 is bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
But I'm pleased that Afterlife is ranking a little bit higher than it was. Like it's not as like I enjoyed it better this time. Happy about that.
Chris, would you say your ranking matches up with Sam's? Or
I will say is after rewatching Afterlife, I think so. Like it's 1, 2, Afterlife, Frozen Empire, whatever they make for the next 30 years. Then 26.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Stuff that one.
5 miles of mood slime, and then
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Well, excellent. And make sure you guys go over and check out their shows on the Ghostbusters and everything else they're doing. You want to go ahead and promote that before you go? Where can we find you guys?
We're on Visited by Voices 1 on YouTube. That's where all of the Sheebie Jeebies episodes are being hosted, at least the new ones. I don't bother checking my old YouTube channel, so it's up to you if you want to go and look for it, but you just search for Sheebie Jeebies and it'll come right up.
Mm-hmm.
And
That
if
will have
anybody
the
wants
link
to
below.
follow me, my Twitter handle is Sheebie Jeebies, but the E's are 3s. Because I'm just 12 years old, I guess. And I still do leet speak.
If you want your daily moments as in, follow Sam.
I respect that.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. You
thank you.
made the show
Good
fun.
seeing you.
Yeah, thanks
Chris,
for
it
having
was
me.
great having you on for the first time too. So.
Oh yeah, but glad to be on for more of them.
I hope so.
Oh yeah. Just
Yep.
let me know whenever.
Heck yeah, I'll keep you posted.
All
Thank
right. Well, y'all have a good night. And thanks
Good night.
again for having us on because this was a fucking blast.
Nice.
Okay, bye, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Later, guys.
Love them.
Oh shit! I can see myself.
That's scary.
That is scary.
Well, for us
Damn.
four, we'll go ahead and we'll go back to this and wrap up our. Well,
Sweet.
not necessarily wrap up, but give our thoughts on Afterlife. I don't know.
I'll
who
go
wants to
because
take
I
over.
don't really remember Afterlife, so it'll be quick because I only saw it once, maybe about a year ago, and I get most of it. I will say, just so my comments about New York weren't misconstrued, I like New York. I don't like New Yorkers and their self-important attitude. So actually, one of the things I didn't like about Afterlife was that it wasn't in New York. To me, Ghostbusters is synonymous. It's tied to the city of New York. That landscape, that architecture, that history. So to have it this out like in Oklahoma somewhere, I get what they were doing, but to me, it just didn't feel like Ghostbusters from that perspective. Besides that, the new characters are fine. I mean, they're okay. Phoebe I like her more as she's developed, I think, in the second movie, where she kind of really is kind of the main character, I think, in Frozen Empire or whatever it is. But yeah, I forget a lot of it. I remember the beats, but I don't remember the details, so I can't say much about like what I remember about the jokes or the songs. I remember what the story is in general and how it ends. I mean, once you get to these movies, they're kind of following the trends of past like sequels or remakes. She already brought it up. It's kind of like taking the Force Awakens type of approach, where it's like, here's kind of what you already saw, but done again in a new kind of way. But it's familiar. We don't want to alienate people, so we're going to kind of redo stuff the way they did with Force Awakens, which is basically a New Hope Redux type thing.
And then there's also that whole one as fans, because if you go too different, then we're all going to bitch that it's not
I know
Ghostbusters or Star Wars.
I know, right? So that's not necessarily criticism. I'm just saying, like, it's another starting point. It's another maybe it's a sequel, but still, it's another starting point at a long time. So they have to do something. So, and the other thing they did, which is something you see like before they made 1,000 sequels, but like in the first like Jurassic World, a big part of Jurassic World was like coming across like stuff from the first movie, and that's a big part of this too. It's like, oh, we found the gear and the stuff they used, and it's old now. All this time has passed, and like I get what I'm supposed to feel for that, but I'm just like, I move it along. So I don't know. Again, I'm not a Ghostbusters franchise person, so like to me, like I'm getting more and more tired as things go on. Obviously, this is a much better movie than 2016, which is garbage, but yeah. So I forget a lot of it. So there's details about it. Like again, I can't remember scenes too well, so I can't really get into detail. I mean, but I do think the new cast is pretty good. Paul Rudd's a very safe choice, right? He's such a likable guy. I would just stick him kind of into any situation. Paul Rudd's one of those guys that doesn't really have to play characters. He more or less plays himself, which fine. Ghostbusters is not the type of movie that needs great performances by actors digging into specific characters. I mean, is Bill Murray really creating a character with Venkman? Not so much, right? He's Bill Murray with the parapsychology angle or whatever you want to call it. So I mean, Afterlife to me is inoffensive and okay, but I can't remember it too well. So I don't know if that's my own memory or if it's just not memorable. But at least if they had to continue, it's a much better step than what they did with the 2016.
Cool. Fair enough review.
So going into this one, at this point I was kind of done with Ghostbusters. I felt like I had my fill. I think overall they did a great job. I think McKenna Grace's Phoebe is the highlight. I thought she was a very likable character. You already brought up podcast Logan Kim. Pretty much all the new characters. I love Carrie Coon. I mean, The Leftovers. She's fantastic. So not the biggest.
I never heard of her in my life until she showed up there because I'm not a TV person, and I guess that's what she's mostly done. So I had no like I even looked her up. I'm like, who is this person getting this major role in this big movie? I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it, but I just had never heard of her. I mean,
she's really good. Worth diving into her work, and she's done some indie film too. She's really good. Paul Rudd, I'm not a huge fan of, but I think you said it correct. Like, he's Paul Rudd. He works for this role. But no, I really enjoyed Afterlife. Even the bit with Bob Gunton coming back as Egon, I thought that worked. I enjoyed that part of it. Hits you in the feels. But did I need the rest of the cast? Not really, but fine. Like, at least it was kept short in this. And I think this was fine for a goodbye, too, which we'll get to in the next movie. But I wish we could have had something a little bit different. Like Sam said towards the end, it's like, let's get away from the first film. You're doing a great job of paying homage to it. But we could, do something a little bit different in the finale. But overall, I thought this one was pretty damn good. I even felt good going forward with this cast, which I wish they had just they created compelling new characters. Let's roll with them now. But yeah, alas. But I agree, way better than 2016. I think way better than 2. Sorry. It's my second favorite.
Do you want me to go, Jess?
Oh,
or do you
this
wanna
one was
go?
your second favorite. Afterlife. That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't know if I could rank it higher than 2, but solid. Go ahead and Kory, and I'll just finish up because I've kind of spoken between some of my notes. I've only got a few left.
All right, this is where I turned into the heel. I'm not saying I don't like the movie. I'm not saying it's unwatchable or anything like that. I have issues with the story. Both Cole and Dan and I believe Sam had said that you didn't need to retread the first movie. Come up with a new original story. I do not like the direction they went. Say what?
Nothing. Sorry. Bad joke.
I do not like the direction they went with how they brought in the new characters. I think they're too young. I think the main characters should be at least mid to late 20s. Don't just dismiss me, fucker. I don't want a 15-year-old or a 12-year-old Ghostbuster. I don't want to see that.
I thought that was kind of a nice change to what anyone would expect if they were passing the torch 10 years earlier.
Still pass
to
the
try
torch.
to
But
create a bunch of late 20s, early 30s guys or whatever.
Here's the problem. Okay.
They gave you Paul Rudd.
At least my problem. Hey, this is my time, bud. Shut up.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me, all the hell. I thought this was the Rumble.
It is, but shut the hell up and let me make my point. So here's my issue, okay, is that everybody wants to fucking jump to the end. Let's, instead of just gradually passing the torch to a new group of people, this is your new Ghostbusters, and we're just going to set these guys off to the side. You get one big moment with them, and then we're done with these guys for this movie.
I almost agree with you with that
statement. I don't like that. I want a gradual fucking progression to a new set of Ghostbusters. Okay,
you've got 40 years.
But the story didn't move. When was Ghostbusters 2? 91, 90, 89, 89?
89.
Okay. The story, as far as anybody else is concerned who didn't play the video game, the story hasn't moved from part 2. I mean, unless you're reading comic books, but what fucking nerd does that?
Apparently the cartoon is
the cartoon kind of did, and Slasher was asking, and we did tell him. We briefly touched on the cartoon.
Not this one.
But I have a hard time, like, watching this movie. I feel like there should have been another movie before it. Not a video game. I want an actual fucking movie with the original fucking Ghostbusters. That's what I want. And I
Bill Murray for that.
No. I get that. I'm just saying, with the story that they gave us, I feel like there should have been another one before it.
There should have.
There's
this
something.
Is what they did the best they could with what they had, man.
I think you're missing
too much
point,
time
Jess.
passed. I just think too much time passed. I don't think Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, now we're going to be able to headline a movie themselves.
No,
I disagree. I think they could have. And Jess, you are the last person to say no. Mr. Robert Englund can still play Freddy.
That's a different thing, though. That's a whole different.
What's he got to do? Stand there and point his fucking his laser gun at the fucking ghost, and ride around in Ecto
more
1.
than that. Which I still think there's value.
Oh, they can get
older
stuntmen for that. Isn't that what you said about Robert Englund? They can just get stuntmen for all that.
You're comparing apples and oranges to that.
No, these are apples and apples. You're talking about old people.
You can't get Dan Aykroyd stuntman.
They have CGI now. They can de-age people.
I'm almost agreeing with you, though. I want to see more of the old Ghostbusters.
My point is that
with
since this
new
is what
crew.
we got, I would have reversed it. Instead of shoving this new group of people onto you and saying this is your new Ghostbusters, I would have started off with the original ones that were left and how they are trying to move on without Egon, and then slowly add in these new people.
But they
Instead of
haven't
just
been
shoving,
able to. Sorry to keep cutting you off, but there's no Ghostbusters at this time. Just like we were talking about earlier, the
they always find a way
Ghostbusters
to
was
bring them
shut
back.
down.
Yeah, they were shut down after part 1 too, and they came back.
I don't think Bill Murray. I mean, I don't think Bill Murray wanted to do a film where he's
I'm taking the
like
Jess
that.
Graham approach to this, and just throw as much money as you need to at him. He'll do it.
That's what we need to do for Rick Moranis to come back.
You're part of the problem, Jess. That's why we have 90-year-old Indiana Jones. Like, I can't just pass the torch. Like, just drag Robert Englund.
They tried to pass the torch. It doesn't work that easy.
Jackie Earle Haley did just fine.
No, he did not. I don't.
Yes,
even
The
wanna get into
movie's
that.
not. The movie's
Go look
not
at our
good,
Nightmare on Elm Street.
but Jackie.
It was
Earle
not
Haley-
good, but I don't have any problem with him.
Yeah, I don't have any
Yeah.
problem. Jackie Earle Haley's a great actor. He's fine.
Yeah. He was
but
very good in
The
the
movie's horrible, and we're not going to get into that.
So, Jess, gun to your head, you have to watch one Nightmare on Elm Street remake, Ghostbusters 2016.
Oh God! Why don't you just pull the trigger?
Because there's no fun in that.
There's no fun in watching either of those movies. Just shoot me. Just shoot me. I have no answer. There is no right answer to that. It's all wrong. And no, I didn't. I think I played the video game briefly, and I've watched like the clips from it online because they say it was the third movie. It looked all right. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I go back to I like the classic Ghostbusters game. Ghostbusters, from NES and Commodore 64.
I'm gonna say it again though.
Never actually
Jess.
played it.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things, but gotta let go of some of the nostalgia. You are the reason why we're gonna have like AI versions of James Dean starring in new movies. Like,
Please give it to me.
God.
that's a thing.
Oh,
That's
Give
God.
me a Humphrey Bogart movie.
I
I
don't
want
know
a
if I
new
wanna go
fucking Humphrey
that far.
Bogart movie.
But I appreciated
Oh,
what they
God.
did with Egon in this. I think it was a
Ghoulish.
great tribute because thanks to Bill Murray,
I like
we
that
lost
part.
we lost him to get we couldn't get a true Ghostbusters 3 with Egon.
He's responsible for his death.
No, but he's responsible for not doing it.
Yes.
Wait until after he died to say yes to a shitty movie to come back to Ghostbusters.
Oh, this one wasn't shitty at
Not
all.
this one, but I'm talking about the remake, and then finally come back to his proper role. So I think they did the best with what they had in that sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just
I
let
liked
it go.
Afterlife a lot. Again, this might be a new nostalgia for me. My whole family went to see it. My wife, my son, and my parents. Both of my parents.
Did they like it?
And we all they all enjoyed it.
Okay, there you go. You can like new things.
I mean, my dad and I had gone to see it, the second one, Ghostbusters 2, 33 years prior to that. So that right there alone gets me back at the theater with my dad, and now my mom and my own son, and and my wife. And that's just so cool to be a part of. And yeah, I think everything else
I've never viewed movies through that lens. I mean, I don't have kids, but I've just never. I don't know. I don't like that kind of sentimentality at all. It's irksome to me for people like, now I can take my kid and show him the movie I liked when I was a kid. Like, I don't care.
There was less of that, and it was
I
more
don't
of that.
think
My
that
dad's
matters.
still around to go to this, and we saw the last movie that was truly a part of this series 33 years ago. Was a cool part. I mean,
Yeah, I get that part. Yeah, just like when people are like talking about like casting like women or minorities and stuff like that, which is I'm against. No, I'm not against. No. What, what I mean? Like when they're talking about in that lead up and there's all that backlash against the female Ghostbusters, a lot of the answer to that were like women and saying like, well, now my daughter can go see a movie and be like, I can be a Ghostbuster too. I was like, I never thought watching the originals made little girls feel like they couldn't be Ghostbusters. There's nothing in the movie that says they can't, but I don't want to step into those I get what I am. I'm the mainstream white guy, so I'm not going to stand up here and be like, I don't see any problem, so you can shut up, So I get that, right? But I just mean, I do get a little confused when that kind of stuff comes out. Like when people start judging movies of whether or not it's appropriate for their kids or their kids liked it or whether they can share the experience with their kids is meaningless to me. But anyway.
I don't have
Oh,
kids
that's a good
either,
point.
but I feel like if I did, I would just be mad because they'd be bitching about not being on their phone the whole time. This was part of my childhood, you little shit. You don't look away. You
Well, as dad,
and
you
I
gotta
think that's
lay
something
the
that's
law
more
down, no
our,
phone.
and that's more something that's really our generation, as far as I know. Because my parents never cared about passing on to me movies or TV shows or anything. It didn't matter to them. My parents never tried to drag me to a movie because they liked it when they were a kid or something. It's not like saying, it's not like my parents didn't have opinions on things or say they like something, but it was never a priority of them to share some past experience of theirs with me. Like that, I don't think that's a baby boomer mindset being my parents.
No, it's not. Frankly,
I don't think they're
those
wired
were
that
me
way.
dragging my parents to these movies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's more our generation. We're like every generation, of course, is nostalgic, and every generation, remembers the time of their youth fondly and all that stuff. And of course, I do. But we're really, maybe not the first generation, but close to it, to like really take that to another level, where it's like time to reinforce what I liked as a kid with my kid. I don't know. I get. I maybe I'm just bitter because I have to hear about this when I talk to Ryan and stuff. He talks about like playing Nintendo. He talks about like playing Nintendo with his son. And I don't care, but good.
Don't care. Love you.
I'm just pretending to be interested in what you're saying.
Right-ho,
Yeah.
you can message me when you want to talk about.
I'm not.
Kids.
I'm not trying to criticize it. I'm saying it's a headspace I can't get into. I can't understand.
Can't
it. And
relate.
It's never
That's
occurred to
understandable.
It's never occurred to me to judge things like movies or books or TV or video games or whatever by again what like a hypothetical child of mine might think of it, or if it would be important to me. I can't imagine if I was, I'm old enough I could have a teenager. I'm old enough. So I had a teenager and I put on Akira and they don't like Akira. I'm like, what is wrong with you? That's not good. That's not healthy.
He's going to beat him for not liking Akira.
It's Clockwork
This
Orange.
was a seminal anime, you little bastard. Where's your
You
sense
do
of
have
culture?
moments as a parent if you're doing that, though. How do you not like this movie, child?
I know. It obviously comes from your uncultured mother.
I have something probably Star Trek just in general is a big one. Like family, everybody watched it, but yeah, not too much. My dad liked John Wayne movies. I never really cared. James Bond movies are fine, but never really had that nostalgia. I always liked my own stuff. So,
and I don't want to make it sound like I couldn't bond with my parents over a shared like of things. It's just
okay.
It was just I don't know. It didn't feel as forced as it feels now. It seems like a more organic, natural thing. Now it almost seems like I'll read a review of a movie. And it's aimed at our age group, and we'll talk about how great it will be because we were there for the first one when we were their age, and that kind of thing. And I just don't think that kind of marketing or mindset existed back in the day. But yeah, of course, I bonded with my parents over shared like of certain things. Hockey's the only reason my dad and I even talk. My dad and I have nothing in common. We have a good relationship, but we have nothing in common. We are not alike at all, but there's hockey, thank fucking God. So
hockey's a good thing to have, yeah.
So when my mom passes the phone to you and says, "Here's your dad," I have something I can talk to him about. We talk to my mom about all sorts of stuff. But anyway, it's more than anybody needed to know. But
Hey Cole, you got a Rangers fan over here, and Jess is a Ducks fan. So
those are both completely acceptable and inoffensive to me. So I approve of both of that. There are wrong answers you could have given.
There are wrong answers.
Rangers are original 6, so
hey, hell yeah. I respect it. And they're damn
but
good team this year.
I will say though, I do feel lucky that I've got 5 kids. I only had one son, and we were able to bond over Bogart and Cagney movies, and pretty much any movie or any genre of movie that I like, there's something that he loves in it that we can talk about. So
that's rare. It's hard a black and white movie, like I don't think there's any
It's a
way with
hard
my
sell
niece.
for
Mhm.
most adults
Yeah.
these days, you know.
My
Yeah,
my
I
don't
son
watch
at
black
4
movies.
was going around quoting White Heat. Look, Mom,
Wow.
made it, top of the world.
Yeah,
He'd be
it's great.
standing on top of a
Again.
slide. So
It's pretty awesome.
That is cool. It's hard. Like my nieces and nephews, like I mean, they're not even really movie kids anymore, to be honest. They're just, YouTube and cartoons, I guess, are still a thing, but for the most part, like good luck. Like, hey, it's Black Sunday for Halloween. You're gonna love it. It's like it's black and white. It's old
Yeah.
and it's stupid. That's
I mean,
actually,
I guess the
think he
closest thing
still
I have.
has- I was just gonna say, I think he still has a VHS copy of Paper Sun. So, or
Oh.
not Paper Sun. Why can't I think something Sun? It's Cagney movie over in Japan.
I know
Oh
what you're
shit!
talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I know what it is.
He's a journalist, and I can't think of the name. It's something Sun. Blood on the Sun. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, it's
He
not
still has
Men
a- he
Behind
still has
the
a
Sun. I
VHS
kept thinking
copy
Men
of it.
Behind the Sun is very different. Although it's Japanese.
Yeah, that's a rough watch with the kids.
Yeah, that's. I mean, the closest I mean, I do have something like I with my parents. It's probably music, in that, like, like a lot of like when you're a little kid, you don't really care about the music of the day. You like the music your parents play. So I mean, it wasn't until I was like 12 that I started liking the 90s stuff that was going on. Before that, I liked my parents' music, and I never broke off from it completely. Like, I still like a ton of music from the 60s. So
I made
You
the
were
mistake of
absorbing it
introducing
from
my
when
son to Weird Al. So
it's good.
Well, that's good that there's some young people out there that'll still watch black and white movies.
Anyway, now I've alienated anyone that has any sort of relationship or cares at all about children. I'm like, fuck the kids, good stuff.
Well, I guess
Why do
I
you
know
care about your kids? Why do you
mentioned
value
that.
having experiences with them? I don't understand. Like, I realize how bad it can come off, but I don't mean it in that way.
I know you don't.
Frozen Empire.
We'll say
I
this one.
watched
I
it
only
today.
went with my son and wife. My parents skipped out on this one. I think one of them wasn't feeling that well, or they would have gone for fun. Again, it's me who's usually dragging people to these, going, "Oh, come on, bring back my nostalgia. Come on, Dad. Come on, Mom." But Frozen Empire. I have one big note, and I thought it was fast-paced fun, and I'm still trying to decide whether I almost even like it more than Afterlife. If you don't take this one as seriously as Afterlife, it's
This is my favorite one besides the first one. This beats out 2 for me, which sounds crazy, but I watched it today for the first time. I hadn't even watched it, and I was surprised by how good it actually was. I was not expecting to like it nearly as much as I did. So maybe there's some recency bias because I literally just watched a couple hours ago, but right now it's mostly all positive.
well, cool. Spit it on out. I don't.
Well, I mean, like I said, it would help maybe to go back and watch Afterlife again because I forget so much. But let's just look up. It showed that Sigourney Weaver was in Afterlife. I don't even remember that. But anyway, she's not in this one. But
Isn't it like an after credits cameo in Afterlife?
yeah, she does the card thing and
It brings
shocks
back
him.
And is shocking Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They're
I don't know, but
possibly married now.
It would seem like the movie is overloaded with too many characters. But I actually was surprised by how well they were handled. I mean, it was pointed out by a couple people, including Dan, that maybe a couple of them didn't have enough to do. Exactly. It wasn't perfect balance. It wasn't like, 2012's The Avengers, which is a really good use of balancing the characters and making each of the characters important to the plot. It's very definitely done. But in this movie, it's not quite that good. But again, it is overloaded. There's characters to me that you don't really need, but I guess were established in the first one. Like there's a girl named Lucky. She doesn't seem to have any purpose or point, but she's there. There's a kid with a 50s hairstyle that I don't really understand him either. He's an Asian kid. He's got like a 50s bouffant hairstyle. He's got like 50s
that
clothes.
podcast.
Yeah, they call him podcast. So it's like, it's weird. It's like he's like a retro look, but with like a 21st century nickname. So, okay, I guess he sounds like they like made him up on the spot for focus groups or something. But I mean, he's fine. He doesn't bother me. But again,
I still like him, but he was better in Afterlife, I think.
Yeah, maybe I can't remember Afterlife. He doesn't seem to serve much purpose in this one, and neither is the other one. There's also, is it James Acaster who's in there? He's in movies now? That's crazy to me. When did he start doing movies?
Which one was he?
Lars,
like the British guy.
I think.
He's the British guy.
Okay.
Like James Acaster, I've known him for years. He's like a stand-up comic guy. I always thought he was pretty good creative guy. I had no idea he ever acted in anything, and suddenly he's in this big movie. It's like a minor role, but still, it just kind of took me aback. But I don't know. I like the movie. Like you said, it's pretty fast-paced. It reminds me of a lot of different things. Now that we're like far into the Ghostbusters, we've added a lot of story and backstory and lore, which I never thought was a good idea for Ghostbusters, but they do a pretty good job. This movie, again, speaking from my comic background, feels a lot like Hellboy. This movie feels like it was written by, Mike Mignola or other people that worked on Hellboy. Like the opening scene is so Hellboy. It's like 1904 New York. Here's the Adventurers Club, and they have a weird artifact and set off a chain reaction of supernatural nonsense. Like that's like lifted verbatim from like 17 different Hellboy stories. But I mean, it's not bad.
Crooked Man shot.
I love Crooked Man, but it feels like I don't want to go on a tangent, but it feels like a really weird one to pick for a movie. I love it. It's one of my favorites. It feels kind of like, but maybe that is refreshing because what you were just saying, remember talking about like Avengers and stuff like that. It's kind of annoying when the whole fate of the world's on the line all the time. One thing that's nice about Crooked Man, it's a smaller contained story. There's evil and darkness, but it's not like, oh no, the whole world's going to be overrun, Yeah. So anyway,
it's a lower budget too, so it works hopefully.
Yeah. So it seems pretty cool. But anyway, so I did like that. It just kind of caught me off guard. I was like, wow, this is a real Hellboy adventurer pulp kind of vibe to it. Plus, you're back in New York now, which to me, that's where Ghostbusters should be. You're in New York with the firehouse and the Ecto one. And like Dan said about Phoebe, she's basically the main character. And again, I was surprised. I had your mindset, Kory, that we shouldn't focus on a character so young, but she won me over, I guess is all I can say. She won me over. I was interested in her and I cared about the stuff she did. I also liked that a ghost was a real character because they'd never really done that before. She has this whole relationship with a teenage ghost, and I'm not saying it's brilliant, but it's something different. It's the first time in Ghostbusters that a ghost is an actual character with stakes sort of in the plot. They're not just like some obstacle or enemy. So that was kind of neat too. Another person that won me over, Jess has probably been around at least to hear me years ago talk about my hatred for Kunal, whatever his name is, how much I wanted to punch him in the face and how annoying and grating I find his voice. Over the couple of years, I've softened a little on him. He's actually okay in it. I've softened a little on him. He's in one of the Star Wars shows. He was in Kenobi, and I was surprised. And I thought, I'm going to hate. And he was fun. Yeah, I was expecting I was going to like hate him and say he ruined the show, but he didn't. Kind of the same thing here. Like I was like,
Bash.
Yeah, I'm not a TV person really, so I don't see a lot of this stuff. But he's in a lot of movies. Like speaking of Marvel, oh my God, we don't have time for me to talk about my most hated Marvel movie, which is the one he's in.
Eternals.
What is that? Eternals. God, I hate Eternals, and he's awful. But anyway, my point here is actually positive. Is that once again, I was actually surprised that I didn't hate him, and he was fine. He was bearable. He even had a couple of lines that were decently funny. So. Yeah, this movie really caught me by surprise. I was expecting to just not dislike it or hate it. I just thought I'd be like, don't care. But I cared, and I liked it. And it's probably my favorite Ghostbusters after the first one. Not by much. It doesn't beat out 2 by a lot, because 2 still has the strength of the original cast in their prime. I just get really annoyed by how nonsensical and sappy 2 gets, which you already heard me say. I don't need to say it again. This, I thought, was a pretty well-constructed plot, and one of the first times ever that the climax felt like a decent climax. I mean, I thought that too about 2016, but 2016 is garbage. So it didn't really matter if the climax worked because it was built on a foundation of garbage. So, but this was a good movie with a good climax, I thought. So, yeah, And in the end, I get it. It's overloaded. Like I said, everybody's a Ghostbusters. There's like 17 Ghostbusters now. It seems like a little bit much. You get a proton pack. You get a proton pack. It's a little much. But again, it bothers me, but only a little. Like, it doesn't bother me to the point that I dislike the movie. So I was really surprised by how positive I felt about the movie. A lot of it had to do with Phoebe. A lot had to do with that feel, that adventure, pulp, Hellboy world feel. So, yeah, I think it's the best Ghostbuster movie they've made since the first one, which is sounds crazy coming out of my mouth. But, yeah,
that is pretty well said. I don't know if I like it better than 2, but your points are very similar to mine on it. I just had fun with it. Yeah. It was fun. I never felt it was slowed down. It was, like I said, fast paced. When the movie ended, I think we came out of the theater, especially my wife and I, and we're like, yeah, that was actually a lot of fun, and I didn't feel it dragged much anywhere.
No, I mean I think it's the longest movie, unless Afterlife is.
I didn't know that.
It's close to 2 hours. I don't know what Afterlife's runtime is, but this is just short of 2 hours. I think it's like hour 50, hour 55 or something. I just watched
it's a breeze. Yeah, it's paced pretty well. Yeah, I can kind of see the Hellboy comparison. It's a good, I don't think it does anything that they just knock it out of the park, but I thought the villain was cool. There's some great special effects, I thought, in this one. I do wish we kind of would just move on from the legacy characters, because I think you've established Phoebe and some of these people they're good enough. I like them. I don't need a single one. Maybe you keep, I don't know, Dan Aykroyd at least has something to do. Ernie Hudson could sort of be in it. I don't know that I want to.
I'm not exactly thrilled. I'm not exactly thrilled with Ernie Hudson, what they gave him in this future timeline. I don't really like what he is. He's like some weird rich guy. I don't really like that. I don't know what he is. Sure. He has some sort of influential, powerful position that it doesn't feel right for the character to me.
I kind of like the Ghostbusters just working out of whatever garage or some ramshackle shop. I don't think they're kind of setting it up to make it this big organization. I don't think they necessarily.
I didn't particularly care for that.
Yeah, but wasn't that the original idea? Was that for the first one, it was supposed to be like some international thing, and it was set up like way in the future.
Yeah, I would be fine.
Yeah, the original idea was almost, it sounded like a Doctor Who type thing, because it was about like multiple Ghostbusters from multiple planets as part of some sort of galactic thing, and they jump through space and time. And of course, the budget wouldn't work for that. That was the original script, where like it was supposed to be Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi together doing it. And it was more of a roaming adventure movie. It wasn't going to be set in Earth at all. It was going to have less comedy. And they were just like, we don't have the budget to do any of this, and John Belushi's dead. Pivot. We have to pivot.
Yeah, that might have been interesting, but I don't know. I don't think it would have been.
It would have been completely different. It would have been completely different. I love the ambition of it. Can you imagine an early 80s movie that did all that crazy sci-fi nonsense that we take for granted now? Back then, it would have been great. I mean, even the scaled down 84 Ghostbusters is still groundbreaking in a way. The subgenre of supernatural comedy existed before Ghostbusters, but it was very small, and it was very, it was like Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. It was that kind of thing, This bumped it up a notch, like several notches probably, right? A bigger budget movie, big name stars, special effects. It was the first comedy to have, expensive special effects given to it. So groundbreaking in a lot of ways. But yeah, that original treatment would have been cool. I think you could still spin it as something else. Not Ghostbusters, just take that in a different direction. It's an interesting what if, especially if you had a movie that specifically paired up. I do like the idea of a movie that paired up, Dan Aykroyd back when he was that age, and John Belushi, before he croaked. The idea of them being like a partners jumping through the multiverse or whatever it was, it's very ahead of its time. Now everything's a fucking multiverse, but back then it would have been pretty groundbreaking. Just saw Deadpool, which actually makes fun of the multiverse, even though that's part of its plot. But that's how those movies work.
It works for that, but yeah, I'm kind of sick of the whole like, oh look, it's Nick Cage for 2 seconds. I remember that Superman movie that didn't happen. It's like, I don't know. That I need more than that. But
I like
but
it when
no,
it's used right.
Oh, you know why I
Yeah.
like that Flash movie, even though I don't like the Flash, because it erases Batfleck from the timeline. So that's amazing to me. Batfleck is destroyed by that, which makes me so happy.
they shit on him in Deadpool too. That Jennifer Garner line, it's fine. I don't care.
I'm sorry. I love the obvious. Michael Keaton coming back as Batman is what really made that movie for me.
I thought
I
that
saw the
movie was gonna
preview
be
that he's
more-
coming back as Beetlejuice, which is crazy to me, but we don't have time.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
We
I'm
have to
sorry.
we have to stay about it. See, I'm
One of my
weird.
favorite
I'm of that
movies, too.
generation. Yeah, see, I'm not going to say anything bad about Beetlejuice. It's just a cult movie that I've never understood its appeal.
I was there.
People my age go insane for that movie, and I mean, I remember it from back in the day too, and it just sort of washes over me. Like it starts to have it has like a really thin plot, and then it just goes off the rails. It's not even about anything. I don't know. But anyway.
That's what's.
But
I
the
don't
new
know.
girl in this, I saw, just the other day I went up to Deadpool. I saw the preview for it. And the new girl in it, she looks a lot like Katie Holmes did, so that's kind of cool. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, but this movie, if you're gonna have them, give them something to do. Bill Murray. There's nothing. You might have one-liner in this thing. Annie Potts, I would really have liked to have seen them come up with something for. I love Annie Potts. But
Something better, more suited to her character. Yeah, like somebody mentioned earlier. I don't know, Sam or Chris or one of you guys, but her suiting up was not it.
Yeah, it just. But if I set that aside, this is a fun popcorn movie. It really is. It's very centered on Phoebe. She's best character at this point. I really like her. They did some things different. It worked for me. Yeah, Buckaroo Banzai doesn't get talked about a lot.
I had to pull that up. I saw you guys before it got
That's a
away.
cool movie. That's another what if, right? That was supposed to be a franchise. Didn't work, right? Movie bomb. There's supposed to be at least 3 of them.
Yeah, people didn't get it, I guess, in the moment. I don't know.
I remember being in the theater in 2004 and watching what turned out to be one of my favorite movies of all time, and my favorite Bill Murray thing ever, above Ghostbusters, Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. And at the very end of that movie, at the end credits, where they're all like walking at the camera, I wanted to stand up and be like, it's like the end of Buckaroo Banzai, which Jeff Goldblum was also in. But I didn't do it. Remember those moments in a crowd? It could be in a theater or a classroom where you get something and you don't have anybody to tell, and it like kills you.
I like that movie too, and that's like kind of I think why Bill Murray more than anything. Just like, man, I'm moving on to Wes Anderson stuff now. I don't want to do another Ghostbusters movie.
But he did that, and I don't know. He takes me off about that, and I love Bill Murray's roles that he's played, and even the Wes Anderson stuff is great. But
yeah,
his
but
attitude.
just Broken Flowers. I mean the Jim Jarmusch
really
stuff. Yeah, I mean he was doing
Lost in Translation.
Oh, Lost in Translation's great. He's done a lot of great movies, and I could just see him like I don't know that
he's one of my favorite actors. Period, not just comedic actors. He's one of my favorite actors. I love him.
Yeah, Bill Murray's great, and I think in his head he's just thinking like, if I'm starring in a Ghostbusters movie, that's a big chunk of my time, my life, and I think a lot of the scripts over the years probably just sucked.
Which I agree.
Why
come back to something good?
Yeah, if it's a piece of crap. I'm a little bit different than a lot of people. I know a lot of people just want them to keep hammering it out. I don't need it. Sometimes it's good to just end. You always have the movies. You always have the memories. Don't beat something into the ground. Sorry. You can always revisit the others. Sorry.
I know, but if there's a story
to tell, problem with most franchises.
And see what people are up to, though the characters are up to. I'm all for another sequel if there's something that's worth telling.
I mean, speaking of Sigourney Weaver, like we didn't need her after the second Aliens, right? Alien and Aliens. We should have moved on from Ripley. We didn't need to bring her back, kill her, and then still bring her back after you fucking killed her. I mean, because that was them going, we need the name recognition. We need Ripley to keep this thing going. And I'm not saying when they fucking
I hated Resurrection though.
I don't like Resurrection, but 3 3 offends me. I hate it so much. I am offended by 3 and its goddamn choices.
We might have to do
Shit's
those
all-
sometime.
I like the weird vibe of Resurrection. Yeah,
you better make it about 6 hours long then. 'Cause I have way too much to say about that shit.
Well, Chris from Slasher Home Video agrees with you, Dan, and Ben makes a good point that I should have brought up earlier.
He was busy doing his
Garfield.
masterpiece.
Not that he did Garfield, which was kind of interesting that he voiced Garfield, the Garfield movie, and if you knew the real Ghostbusters, Lorenzo Music, who voiced Venkman in that cartoon,
I was pointing that out. I was pointing that out when it first occurred. But anyway,
yeah, me too, Cole. And I was like, am I the only one who knows this?
Lorenzo Music's the main reason I watched. By the way, as somebody who said I was lukewarm on that show, I watched it because I like Lorenzo Music because I love the Garfield show. That's the main reason I watched the Garfield. I mean the Ghostbusters cartoon was because I wanted more Lorenzo Music, who was also one of the characters on Gummy Bears. So he was on all those.
Well, this is Carlton, your doorman. Another bad impression. I don't know if anybody ever watched Rhoda. But there you go. Okay, so he did Garfield the movie. I can accept that. But he did Garfield 2, or the sequel, A Tale of Two Kitties. So the excuse of Bill Murray doing these fancy movies is the reason why he won't do a real Ghostbusters.
He wasn't on the
set. He did Garfield 2.
He wasn't in a cat suit on the set, Jess Graham. Come on.
Still.
I'm still surprised he did Garfield too, because he seemed like the type of person, just like we talked about Jim Carrey earlier. Jim Carrey always said he had no interest in doing sequels, and that he hated repeating himself, and he just didn't like to play the same character twice. The only reason he did that awful sequel to
Dumb and Dumber,
what is it? Ace Ventura.
Oh,
they it was the height of his popularity, and they threw so much money at him that he kind of couldn't say no. Man, there's a movie I saw in theater that. You're going to blind myself, but anyway. But I mean, I always thought Bill Murray seemed to have. He never actually. I don't think I've ever heard Bill Murray say anything about sequels, but he always seemed to give out that vibe that the idea of, doing a sequel was not really him, and he hadn't done them, and then he does do a Garfield sequel. So I don't know.
Yeah,
that seems to throw that all out of whack.
And you can't do a proper Ghostbusters 3 back then. That's I don't know.
Because it was already known that he was even reluctant about Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
Or at least, so.
But over a decade had passed, 15 years had passed. I think he could have come up, and if he didn't like the script, punch it up, dude. Make it good.
I know you say that, but that's not his style, right? Like he didn't really contribute even to the first one script. They brought him in and showed it to him, and apparently Harold Ramis was just like, "Don't worry, I know how to write for him," and that's kind of how that worked. Bill Murray has a lot of talent, but he's not always willing to exert his full effort. I mean, he is what he is. I get it. A lot of my favorite actors have some arrogance to them, and when people accuse them of that, I can't defend them. If people want to say, like, Bill Murray kept Ghostbusters 3 from happening, Bill Murray, wouldn't do this, he wouldn't do that, he thought it was so great. I'm like, I guess so, yeah. I'm a big Harrison Ford fan, too, and lots of people talk about how full of himself he is. And I'm like, yeah, probably he was, biggest star in the world.
And I talk shit about him, but I'm also a fan. So
I mean, I just get it. Like, I'm not trying to defend people for being arrogant, but I do think sometimes that does get blown out of proportion. I mean, especially when you think of how arrogant certain actors are, and, you hear the horror stories of them, like, don't look me in the eyes on set and stuff like that. That's not
that. Yeah, I don't know.
I respect an actor for picking their spots. Like, I'm gonna be selective in what I do. There's not a lot of that anymore. I see a lot of even great actors just. Even Robert De Niro and Al Pacino at this point are doing awful direct to VOD crap.
I mean, so many of them have become shallow reflections or parodies of themselves as they've gotten older. I mean, it happened. Christopher Walken, right? Christopher Walken at one time was a really good actor, but most people forget it because of how goofy and weird everything went off the rails, and he kind of leaned into it. And you get why he leaned into it, but then it went too far. I think most people were surprised to know that there was a time when Christopher Walken did like serious dramatic roles and was actually quite good.
There's
a whole generation of people that aren't aware of that.
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah,
agreed.
But Bill Murray never just said yes to shit. Like I get that vibe that was something, that even if you didn't like the movie, he picked his shots.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
how Garfield 3, which never happened, is like one of the jokes of the industry. Like there was like Garfield 3 is a joke in the Zombie Land franchise, right? Where Bill Murray plays himself. There's that whole thing about him was about to do Garfield 3, and then that's when the zombie thing started. And there's a whole thing about Tracy Morgan's character, Tracy Jordan from 30 Rock, being Garfield, replacing him as Garfield for Garfield 3, and then like fucking up the whole thing. There's at least one more other thing. I can't think. There's another thing about like a possible fictional version of Garfield 3. It became a big joke.
I remember at one point in Zombieland, God, there were a lot of actors before they got to Bill Murray. I believe Steven Seagal was in the running at one point, which might
like
have been
for like the. Was it going to be like the same idea that like Tallahassee like idolized him and wanted to meet him and thought he was the best? Like, because can you imagine? He'd be like Steven fucking Seagal. They'd be like, what? Oh man,
he's got a big Glimmer Man poster where he used to live.
Now there's one of the biggest assholes ever, and he wasn't even really big a star. But
there's a podcast called Behind the Bastards, and it's a 2 or 3-parter on Steven Seagal. If you want to see,
I was gonna say his must be the most epic. I mean, there's nobody that's built up more like bad will and terrible stories than Steven Seagal.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's one thing like you achieve like a brief fame in the early '90s, and now you're like a fat Russian propagandist traitor doing movies that are basically so bad they only exist to like launder money for crime lords. But I mean, that's real. All the while still acting like you're the big star you once were, telling lies upon lies about how you worked for the CIA and fought the Yakuza and all this bullshit.
He was a cop.
He was kind of sort of a cop.
I would have liked to have seen him running from zombies, though. I feel like that
anything with him running is worth it. I mean, watch a Steven Seagal movie in his prime when he's running, and it's weird.
Yes.
Like, go back and watch like Hard to Kill. Watch him running in that. You're like, what is wrong with this man? His torso is all out of whack. It's weird. Anyway, sorry, that's another whole tangent. Steven Seagal is a whole universe of things.
Google Steven Seagal running for laughs and watch that Behind the Bastards podcast.
For sure. But yeah, Steven Seagal in that, man. Blows my mind.
Kory,
Steven Seagal should have done Garfield 3.
Steven, that would be interesting.
he should have stepped up. He's like, if no one is really willing to do Garfield 3, I'll do it.
He's just.
I would watch that Garfield 3. And I like Garfield, but I would have no plan on watching Garfield 3 any other way.
You would have watched it for him. I could just see him reading the script. I'm a fat piece of shit. This might work.
Kory, did you even say anything about Frozen Empire?
No, I didn't.
Let's do it. Let's
get it done.
No, I basically everything I said about Afterlife is pretty much the same thing about Frozen Empire. It's not a bad movie. It's not unwatchable. I feel they could have gone a different way with it. Cole had mentioned The Flash earlier, and I'm not a comic book guy, but every time I hear somebody mention The Flash, the Ray Stevens song, The Streak, plays in my head. So thank you for that.
Oh, yes, they call him The Streak. Boogity, boogity. All right. Well, you guys have a ranking for this franchise?
Okay. Original Ghostbusters. Surprisingly, after that is Frozen Empire, then 2, then Afterlife, and then 2016.
Cool.
All right.
Dan?
Well, the original is the best. I figured that was going to be consensus. Second best, I'll go Afterlife, Frozen Empire, Ghostbusters 2 by a little bit, and then 2016.
Oh wow! I'm surprised you both put Ghostbusters 2 that low.
I put it in the middle. It's in the middle for me.
All right. Mine is 2016. No, I'm joking.
Oh.
Somebody out there.
The original
Somebody.
Ghostbusters, obviously, Ghostbusters 2, Afterlife, Frozen Pizza, or Frozen Empire, and
Frozen.
a nice long river of mood slime, and then 2016 at the end of that. So,
Okay.
Wow.
And as I said from the very beginning, and even though I really surprisingly liked that latest one, I still think they should stop. I think it's over. I think it's done. With new characters, with old characters, no more fucking Ghostbusters. We have to let franchises fucking die, and they won't do it.
No,
It does
I-
need to
I-
settle eventually, but I could use, as a franchise guy, I could use one more Ghostbusters if it's done right.
And I mean, there's always the
And then-
possibility of
then
good
be done.
movies. I thought the new Alien was the best Alien in forever. You know, I liked the new Alien. I watched Alien Romulus, and I think it's the best movie since Aliens.
I haven't seen it, but the trailer did look cool.
is that where they
The trailer
like?
gives way too much away. As
Do they
usual.
cross
Try not to watch
aliens
the
with
trailer.
Star Trek, or
No
isn't
more
that what
crossing
Spock
shit with other
was,
shit.
or-
No. And no more
Help
trying
me
to
out
make,
here, Dan. You're the Star Trek guy.
Well, you could
and
say
no more trying to tie it to like Prometheus either. It's just
does.
it's kind of technically it's an interval. It would actually take place between Alien and Aliens.
Yeah. You could argue the Romulus, maybe some crossover with Raised by Wolves, which I'm still mourning, but
Oh, and speaking of, and Alien Isolation is an amazing game and fits perfectly in the timeline, so you could get that. Alien Isolation is so fucking good. I played it
Yeah.
so many times.
I was amazed. I don't know. I don't know in Canada if it was a thing, but the popcorn buckets, those things were like sold out before the weekend, before the movie even was officially open.
For
Officially
Romulus?
open. Oh yeah, I mean, I got the face hugger one, but I didn't make it to Regal or Cinemark. The Regal one, the light up one, is like going for over $200 right now on eBay. It's
Jeez.
insane.
I
Isn't
remember
there one
seeing
you could
it.
make love to?
My chain is called
The Dune
Cineplex.
one.
I don't recall seeing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
think
They
it's
do
just
they do special cups every once in a while, but I've never really seen anything that big. You know, that sounds very ornate and huge. Like, no, I have some special cups, like from some of the Star Wars movies and shit, but nothing very memorable or special.
I think they're gonna be doing a lot of merchandise gimmicks going forward after that, because I even talked to the guy on the. I mean, they were sold out. Me coming out of the movie because I had went over. I was like, maybe I'll buy one more. And the guy was like, yeah, they're gone. Like, he's never seen anything sell that fast. People were showing up to buy that over seeing the movie just to get the cups.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we had an equivalent to that. I'll have to look it up and see what it looks like.
Yeah, I'd grab it. I don't have it handy, but yeah, there's 3 of them. They're really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Well, Ben Grimm, here's his rankings. Thanks for sticking around with us tonight. Yeah, of course, 1, and then Afterlife is his number 2, and then and then Ghostbusters 2, Frozen Empire, and then of course, in the trash can, 2016.
That makes a lot
Everybody
more
has the
sense.
same first and last. It's
Yeah,
just really
it's the in between, which
yeah.
mine is, of course, number 1 is the original and far from the rest. But I'm gonna say the rest of these possibly change if you talk to me again in a year or two. But Ghostbusters 2 would be next. Maybe it is nostalgia holding on to that. And I think at the moment I need to rewatch it again, but Frozen Empire is probably my 3rd, and then Afterlife, and then stuff that other one in a sack and throw it away. And if they make another one, I will be there. And Slimer in the Ghostbusters movie, as long as they don't go too overboard with that, I wouldn't mind seeing just a smidge more Slimer becoming their mascot.
No, I haven't seen any of the Ghostbusters in theaters unless you count a reissue of 1. I mean, I was too young to see the first 2, and I didn't care to see any of the others. And if they make another one, I will see it, but probably not in theater. It will definitely not be a priority for me. It's just, I love the first movie, but as a franchise, I don't care that much. I haven't even played any of the video games, and I'm a video game guy, but I've never played any of them.
Ooh, we got a couple more rankings. Chris from Slasher Home Video, 1, 2, Frozen. We're
That's pretty
simpatico.
close to me.
That yeah.
It's pretty. Again, maybe it's recency bias, and maybe I need to see 2 again. So, I haven't seen 2 in a while, but it's burned into my brain. I remember it really well. I've seen it many times throughout my life. So maybe I need to see 2 again, and maybe I'll decide I do like it more, because I am coming off sort of a euphoria of being so surprised by how much I liked Frozen Empire when I watched it, because I was expecting to just not really care, and actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
I'm glad you did. I was surprised to hear that you did, and then that's welcoming. It's
and
just
Afterlife
fun.
I need to see again because I just don't remember it. Like I only saw it once, and I just forget so much of it. So.
Well, and Jake from Slaughterport, his is 1, 2, Afterlife, Frozen Empire 2016. I thought that's how I would have gonna rank the 1, 2, 3, 4 and remake, but I really Frozen Empire just fun.
I mean, I watched 2016 today. I didn't watch it because I was
sorry.
like, oh, I maybe I'll reevaluate it. I watched it just so that it would be really fresh in my mind for when I could tear it apart. And that's basically how it worked. Like, I was pretty sure I wasn't going to change my feelings on it, and I didn't.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I can remember enough that it was just, I don't want to, life is short, I don't want to do it again. And watched 2 before 1. I'm sure a lot of people did, if they just missed that time frame.
It's a pretty, big jump, 5 years, I think it was. So
yeah.
It's a long
My big
road
surprise
to-
takeaway from this is how much Dan dislikes 2.
Yeah.
It caught me off guard.
No,
I feel
never
the
even
same
loved it
in
as
that
a
2
kid.
is a letdown after 1, but I just don't think it's that much of a letdown. And you heard me ridicule parts of it, and I still can't.
I mean, again, I wouldn't say hate. There's some very good special effects. It has its moments. It's just not. I don't know. I'm not ashamed to say I think I prefer Afterlife and Frozen Empire. I think they're better movies.
I mean, I do. Yeah.
I will say it is kind of cool to hear that some of the newer movies are beating out the nostalgia of the sequel or the original sequel. That's kind of cool. That shows there is something worthy in Frozen Empire and Afterlife.
Yeah, I'm always rooting for a movie. I mean, even 2016, I remember going into that thinking like, well, you haven't seen it yet, so let's give it a shot.
I mean, that's what you try to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, the backlash about that. I mean, if you look up like 2016, there's a whole section in Wikipedia about the controversy around it. One of the things is like James Rolfe, that's the angry video game nerd. There's a whole thing about his stance on it, how he said he wouldn't go see it. And people, there's this whole paragraph of various people having this stance about like just refusing to ever see it and stuff like that. I mean, I
can't have an opinion on something if I'm not going to go see it, really. Usually. I mean, maybe I saw enough in a trailer that I know I'm really going to hate it no matter what. But if I'm going to truly comment on something, I better watch it at least once.
I'm seeing
and
The
I
Crow
mean,
tomorrow. So
well, that's just to say. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. I missed your
tonight.
guys' Crow show, but I mean, I love Ghostbusters, but The Crow is a deeply personal movie for me. It always has been, and I hate its sequels. So the idea of this movie just offends me. So no, I won't see it. So that is me being kind of stubborn and small-minded, because it's like, just give it a chance. Maybe you like it. It's like, I don't want to give it a chance. I only care about 1994's The Crow. I don't care about anything that came afterwards. There's a lot of franchises where I could push a button and make its sequels disappear. I would definitely do that. And The Crow is number 1 on that list.
I think I did share your on the Crow show. We did share your thoughts on that and our that little part of the conversation we had before.
Yes, I was invited to be on that show, and I declined because I was like, no way. I don't want to hear what anybody thinks about The Crow. If you criticize it in the slightest, I'll get annoyed. So just let it go.
I am curious. I know you're not a TV guy, Cole, but do you think it would work? And this is for anybody. Do you think it would work as a TV show now, not using the Eric Draven character?
I mean, I always think like a mini series type thing could work for a lot of things. Like I plan out 8 episodes or something with a beginning, middle, end. But no, I don't see it as like an ongoing season 1, season 2, season 3 type thing. I mean, they did actually. People don't know this, but if they made a very terrible, low-budget Canadian Crow show
Mark
in the
Dacascos.
90s.
Yeah,
And it is quite
if
quite
you would have been
awful.
on the show, I held it up. So
That's
I have
pretty
it.
impressive. But yeah, I mean, living, it was on TV. I saw it, and it was
I actually
really
enjoyed
awful,
that
but
show. So
No.
I think it's okay up to the point where it's just the Crow fighting crime. Like,
Well, that's what I
should
mean.
just be,
This is
he
where-
works out the dead love of his life. Then it's done. He goes off.
See, this is my problem with a lot of those concepts that were like a single comic or a single movie turned into a show. Is I don't like it turning into like the old format of like monster of the week or plot of the week. I've never been a fan of that kind of thing anyway. Which is funny because if you talk to older people, they miss that. They don't like how the modern landscape of television is now like comic books and that we follow arcs. They liked the Monster of the Week episode, the single self-contained. They liked not worrying about continuity. But it's funny, like that doesn't work for absolutely everything. And I feel like there's so many things that like don't need to be stretched out for the purposes of a television show. And I think The Crow would be right up there. Like, do not stretch this out. Don't have it. What's Eric getting up to this week? And
I
like
don't
you
think
said,
it
without,
would.
and you're saying without the character, you're right. You can take it in a different direction if you're not doing the Eric Draven character. You can take it in a different direction. I've read some of the disappointing sequel comics that do that, and it's not terrible, but
well, they tried to do it a little bit
time.
with the TV show that they did do because they had a female Crow, and
Yeah.
I think that would be an interesting concept to explore. But maybe they don't have to be 24 episode long seasons, but something more like what you were talking about, but just have a new person each season.
Yeah.
By the
Like I
end
said,
of
I
that
like the idea
season,
of just a single miniseries, maybe with a beginning, middle, end, and then it's over. Like I like miniseries that are kind of short and one and done like that. It's kind of funny because I love long form storytelling, but I don't like it in TV. I think TV is bad for that. There's exceptions, of course there is, but I think in general TV is not good for that. Leave it to series of novels and comics. That's what good long form storytelling makes the thing. I don't think TV is good at that at all. But I do like, so a lot of my favorite TV things are like mini series because they get in, they get out, they make their point, and they're out. Like True Detective or whatever. That's more the kind of TV stuff I like. Not like what's going to happen in season 2. Are these characters going to get together? Like I'm not the type of person that invests that kind of thing in TV. There's exceptions, But.
I would have liked to have seen what maybe that post-apocalyptic Western Crow might have looked like. They always just try and stay too close to the first one, and you're not going to recreate that.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a miracle that the first movie did that. Like, because the comic was so brilliant in itself, and in many ways, there's very few things out there that are movies that are based on comics or books that I think are better. But I think the Crow movie is even better than the comic, which is crazy high praise for me because it actually makes a lot of the characters more unique and more interesting. So a lot of the characters are kind of forgettable in one note in the Crow comic because the focus is really, really just squarely on Eric, and the other characters are kind of bland. The movie actually gives them a lot of cool personality with really good character actors.
Michael
like Keever
Wincott.
and speaking of Ghostbusters, I know everybody likes to go up to Ernie Hudson and shake his hand because he's Winston, but for me, his best role ever is Albrecht in The Crow. To me, that's the best thing he's ever done by far. And that's another thing that's much improved on the comic. In the comic, Albrecht is fine, but in the movie, Albrecht is way cooler and more interesting.
See, I always thought his best movie was as the evil principal in The Substitute, but
I've seen The Substitute. I do know that movie.
Those are fun movies. Yeah, Crow, I've met a lot of the cast. I've got a bunch of autographs on my poster. Just everybody in that. That was just an amazing cast. Michael Wincott is just so
Michael Wincott is a
underappreciated.
treasure. He's the only thing that's good about Alien Resurrection.
I like the weirdness of that, but maybe that'll be a future Rumble. I won't talk about it now.
It is long. The very short version for Alien Resurrection is it's a failure, but I think it's a noble failure, and there's things they try that I appreciate. They just don't work.
Yeah,
it's just a crazy movie for that director to have. I still don't understand how he got that gig. it's weird. But
City of
I love
Lost
that director.
Children, and I think they were just
All right.
like, okay, yeah, we'll give it to you.
This guy knows weird stuff. He can do weird. Alien's pretty weird. Yeah. I mean, he's one of the reasons why the cast is what it is, I assume. I mean, that would be why tying things in again, Hellboy himself would be in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm bad at names. You know what I mean?
That underwater stuff was fantastic. Ron Perlman almost drowned. And Ben,
Ron
I
Perlman,
agree.
that's what
His
Yeah,
kids
Perlman's great.
allow him to.
An anthology Crow would probably, yeah, I could see that working. You just have to be willing to do something different with the concept. I mean, they just never do, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very simple concept is the problem, and that's one of the reasons why it works. And that's why when you stretch these things out, they don't work. I'm not saying that the Crow does not need to be its own universe. You know, it's small. It's a small thing. It's a story about people in a city. And that's it. You don't need to expand out to a greater universe. Not everything needs that. And that's kind of how I felt about Ghostbusters, honestly. As I said, I never really enjoyed the idea of Ghostbusters as a franchise. To me, it was a very good movie that it was so successful, they had to make a sequel. The sequel was okay, but disappointing, and then they should have just pulled the plug. But
Well, I don't think we have to worry about a universe for the Crow at this point. It took this long to get another one made. We'll see. This one, I haven't heard any reviews, but I'm just looking at thumbnails, and they all say like bird shit or so.
Wow.
We'll see tomorrow.
I can't imagine James O'Barr is thrilled about it because people are
Oh,
like, money. No, James O'Barr is a real guy. He is not in this shit for the money. He didn't take a fucking dime from that movie after what happened to Lee. And
I'm not gonna-
neither did Proyas. Isn't that Proyas? He didn't take a dime from the movie either. Alex Proyas. He just felt too guilty and terrible about it. So, but yeah, James O'Barr. Say what you want. You can say he's a one-hit wonder and he hasn't done anything in 30. I don't care. I respect the fuck out of that guy. So don't say, oh, he's happy there's a new Crow because it's gonna, be ching ching. I fucking doubt it.
No, I don't think this one's gonna do too well, but I could be wrong. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess the box office reports would be out now. I haven't.
Yeah, it just came out this past week, right?
Yeah. Usually I see things. I saw Strange Darling and Blink Twice. I saw like everything that was out before The Crow. I just saved it for last. So we'll see. I can overlook the goofy look though. Like I'm not going to hold that against the movie. I'm
not focused on that at all. Honestly, like I don't care. You can do something different there. I care about deeper, more substantial things than that. I'm not going to judge it by something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a movie that maybe eventually I'll see, but not until way after all this is blown over. That's the only way I can handle movies like that. I need everybody to forget about it. Once everyone has forgotten about it, I'll watch it.
There you go.
Last thing I'll say on that is, personally, I feel that it is one of the best movies ever made, the original one. And
glad we're on the same page.
The term cult classic needs to be removed and just it's a classic. It must be. In my opinion, my two all-time favorite movies are Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon, and The Crow is probably in my top 5.
Wow.
Didn't you dress as the Crow for Halloween once?
Yes, even won a costume contest at work.
Wow. I thought I had you beat. Crow's about top 20 for me. But again, I feel very strong emotional connection to it. So that kind of bumps it up a bit too. So I don't know. But yeah. Well, that's awesome.
So, Jess.
Yes.
Did you give your rating on Ghostbusters?
I did.
Was a Ghostbusters episode.
I did. I think I did give my. I matched up with somebody in the chat, which was pretty close to Cole's too. But yeah, it was just. Yeah, I already gave it. So we can wrap this up here, I think. Do you want to do what they're on the channels? Talk about our.
Yeah, let's go ahead and start with Cole. You got anything coming up?
Okay. Well, again, movie discussion pocket dimension is ongoing. We've had some bumps lately, but we're not gone. So we'll be back hopefully next week. Jay's just been away. He's been he's been out of town for the last week, so we couldn't do anything for this week. But we're trying to get that going, and hopefully be less sporadic. 2024 hasn't worked out much better than 2023, honestly, but we're still trying. I wish we could get more. I wish we could get more consistency going, and that's on both of us. And then some of it's just stuff that's out of our control. But it's that, and also my channel, which I barely pay attention to most of the time, has been revived a little bit thanks to Jess. And Jess has been gracious enough to come on and do some of the live commentaries with me for animation, and we hadn't done it in a while. We hadn't been able to get together for a while, and we just did one pretty recently, which was pretty fun. But now we're going to take a break from the animation and do something brand new that is pretty big. So if people are watching, they might be interested, because these are going to be big, ambitious ones, still live commentaries, but these are going to be on the Harry Potter movies, of which Jess and I are fans. Have hard opinions on, and so they'll be very in depth. There won't really be time for us to go off script, because there'll be so much to say about each movie, especially me. I'll say this again when we do the movies, but the big thing that I will, what's the word I'm looking for, caution people with, the caveat would be, like, if you don't want to hear me comparing them to the books, then don't watch, because a big part of it is going to be talking with the books versus the movies, the changes they made, and how I feel about that. So if you don't want to hear me go in the book like every 15 seconds, maybe you don't want to watch it. But otherwise, I think you really should watch it, because I'm interested to hear, just his own impressions on it too. Because I'm excited, because, like I said, the people that I hung out with, Jay and certain people, that wasn't on their radar. They weren't into that stuff. They didn't read the books, or, So I was so glad to find out that, Jess liked that stuff. And I was like, oh, we have to do it.
Yeah,
then.
you mentioned it.
I know
was
it's
like,
super ambitious.
Yeah.
It'll be hard to do, but Jess is all for it. So we're going to make it work. So I don't know. It'll be kind of hard possibly to give people a lot of it will be working around schedules and trying to fit it in. So it could come kind of suddenly, but we'll try our best to give people heads up, because I do think it's worth tuning into for sure. I think it'd be really cool and interesting. So I'm very excited about that. So hopefully the first one will be pretty soon. That's all I can say. Pretty soon.
Yeah. It'll be a lot of fun. You said it all. I'm excited.
Yes. So that's exciting. So besides that, the movie discussion Pocket Dimension's not dead. We're still going, and hopefully we'll get some consistency going there. It's all Jay's fault. No, okay.
Those links will be down below in the description too. After the show, I'll have them in there. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, you'll be able to check those out for sure. And Daniel Shine.
You can catch Flesh Wound Features. We'll all be together in Hollywood in less than 2 weeks now. So be a lot of content coming for Halloween season, visited by Voices Network, S'mores Indoors. I'm all here. I'm everywhere. So you can catch me anywhere. I know this Wednesday will be a live show where we'll be doing The Crow, Blink Twice. Going to be heavy spoiler discussions on this one.
Really quick, did you like Blink Twice? Because I have the opportunity to see it. Do you think it's worth going to see?
So yes, I will say, kind of look down when there's some text that flashes on screen. I'll explain that a little bit more, because I don't know if even saying what it is it ruins some of the plot. I'll just put it that way.
Oh, it's like a Dark City voiceover situation.
No. It's not part of the actual movie. It's just a warning.
Speaking of Alex Proyas,
it's a trigger warning, but it gives away something that I don't want to spell it out, but I don't know.
This movie comes with a out of universe trigger warning.
It has a trigger warning before the movie, which doesn't really make sense, because I'm sitting there thinking, like, you already bought your
never
ticket.
Heard of that.
It was weird, because at that point you've already bought your ticket. So it's like, sorry, traumatized
I've
people.
I've seen that when I've streamed movies on streaming platforms. I've never seen that at the theater in my life.
I don't think I did either.
I saw Deadpool the other day, and it had a thing about flashing images for like epilepsy, but that's not really the same.
Yeah. Well, and that's the same thing though. Sorry, epileptic people, you're shit out of luck with your $15 or whatever it is now. But we got that. This probably nobody listening's even heard of it, but we're doing Profane Exhibit, which is a movie that shut down at one point. It's a movie that 15 years ago I knew they were making it. and it's a horror anthology. They finally finished it, so I'm very excited to review that. So we got some cool stuff coming before LA and during LA, of course. XPW Symphony for Destruction. We will be there for you wrestling fans, and that this is the one. Something is going to happen at XPW. If you're a fan of our show, you will want to see that because it involves the show. So, yeah.
Well, even not a huge wrestling fan, I enjoy the trips to LA, the shows from LA where you make it out there. So,
yeah, we'll try and do some car videos too. Like, we went to the Playboy Mansion, but nobody would jump over the gate. So
Pure nostalgia candy for,
I think it's
for
all
Jess. So
yeah, you're one where you and Todd are just basically driving down the roads. I'm like, yeah, I know this. I know these roads.
I live 2 blocks that way.
Yeah, it's like turn this way. I know where you're going.
we'll go visit your old stomping grounds and just ask us, like, is this where the Nickelodeon legend Jess Graham lived?
Oh man, I would have gone over the gate.
I think the place
I
is
am-
torn
I
up
might-
now.
I might be older now, but I'm still that guy. If you need that guy that goes over the gate or climbs the thing, or
He'll do it.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
I hear the grotto, like, they ripped that out. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. So it'd probably be just depressing. You jump over and it's just plot of land.
Were we talking about this the other night? I think I looked on the Google Maps, the overhead view, and it was already all that's torn up in the backyard, the grotto and the pool.
Yeah, how do you get rid of the grotto? That feels like a historic. I know some bad stuff
I
happened.
get it, but maybe I don't know if you could disinfect that
Because
enough.
people are
either.
like completely soulless when it comes to stuff like that. Oh man, I don't have time. But even in like my hometown, so many like cool places or historical buildings just destroyed. Nobody wants to preserve anything. It's like just put a parking lot there. Gives a fuck. It breaks my heart.
Yeah, it's too bad. But
We had a castle. We had a castle.
They tore it down, huh?
we always
No,
seem to end
actually,
up at the Michael Myers.
I shouldn't say that. That was actual vandalism. That wasn't the city. Actual vandals burned it. But anyway.
Oh, it's too bad.
I still
Damn
feel
it.
like if that was decades and decades ago, so I feel like if it had survived, they'd just be tearing it down by now anyway, because they had such little respect for that. On the movie note, we had this really great theater. It was the first theater I ever went to and grew up going to. It was called the Vogue Theater, and it was Art Deco, old style, big red curtains, the old style stage and everything. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous, and they just tore it down. Nobody bought it.
When you first brought the tearing down up, we had something similar in our downtown, an old movie theater, and it was beautiful, balconies, and
See,
I got
3 men and
last
a
movie I
baby
saw
there.
was Ghost was the last movie I think that I saw.
The last movie I saw
tore it
there.
down.
The last movie I saw there was Return of the Jedi in 1997 when they were doing the re-releases for the 20th anniversary. It's also the last movie I got into as a child. My ticket, I still have it ever since 97 when they opened the new theater. I started collecting my tickets. So with a few exceptions, I have all my tickets going back to 97, which isn't as impressive as it sounds because the really old ones are like all worn out and you can't read what the fuck they are. But anyway, my Return of the Jedi ticket was $350. For a child, even though I wasn't a child. By the way, I was 14, but I got in as a child because I had a baby face. But
I did that too for
yeah,
a couple of years. And after 12,
but like also like the city I live in now also had a very nice old time theater that got torn down, which sucks. But the difference is they at least preserved a bit of it. If you go in the stupid building they replaced it with, there's just a little tiny part in the lobby with a glass case that actually preserves some of the stuff, like a seat, and has some old photographs. So at least that's fucking something.
You're lucky. Yeah, ours is a parking lot,
trace
like you said.
Yeah.
And I had a seat, and I think it was just the seat part. It wasn't the whole chair. And that got thrown away. And I still think we have, it's in a yard. And it was the brick. It was a tile from the lobby, multicolored.
So, I mean, I don't have like a big attachment to the grotto, but I do think it's sad that they would just tear it up.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I seen Karate Kid Part 2 in that theater too. It was the very first movie I ever saw.
Ah.
The first movie I saw in theaters was also a reissue. It was in 1987. It was Bambi. I saw that's the first movie I saw in theaters.
Bambi. It's a downer.
It's a downer.
Yeah,
I remember still having a good time.
But a good movie, beautiful movie.
It's a good movie. No, I agree. the era where we could traumatize people with animated movies. They weren't afraid.
Well, Jess and I tried to focus on that. Some of that's in our series, and if you want to go back further, one of the very early episodes, I think the first animated thing we did on movie discussion pocket dimension is the all-timer Watership
Plague
Down.
Dog. Oh, Watership Down.
Plague Dogs is the other one, isn't it? We need to do Plague Dogs. Fuck, I read Plague Dogs. Reading Plague Dogs is worse than watching it.
Watership Down is one like I'd love to just like show it to kids just to be like, hey, you want to see
It's a movie
rabbit?
about bunnies.
No.
Yeah,
It's about bunnies.
it's a good movie though.
Oh, it's an incredible movie. I have the Criterion.
Yep, I do too.
Anyway,
Oh,
well, they're finally doing that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep delaying this, but I'll just say, you see that they're finally bringing out that one that they canceled, the big special. There's a new release of that coming out. You know, like watercolors and very pretty stuff. It was canceled years ago. Apparently, it is now finally coming out.
Oh, that's
cool. I don't know if I'll get it or not. I don't really need to upgrade on a Criterion, but I just really love the movie.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on that. That's I might wait for it to be on sale though.
yeah. I mean, where I know that I've seen that movie. I know the movie. I'm just trying to think of the first time. It disturbed me. Anyway, Watership Down.
Plague Dog show next time.
For sure. I would love to do Plague Down.
Well, Kory, what do we have coming up on cable channel 11?
Well, I believe we got another horror rumble coming up next month. Don't tell me. Let me try and remember this. My old age. See if I can beat it.
That's why I write it
Children of the
down.
Corn.
We are doing the Children of the Corn franchise.
Has anybody? Have you guys watched all of them? Has anybody here watched all of them?
I have watched all of them, and I actually
have not.
don't hate most of them.
A legacy.
How many are there? Like 11 of them? 12?
I think there's 11 official.
Wow.
Not counting the.
I've probably seen, I want to say 6. So I mean, I've seen quite a few, but
It's like one good one, and it's not the original, but that's. Well, get busy, guys. You're gonna need to do some homework.
Speaking of taking ideas and ramming them into the ground, this is based on a short story you can read in 15 minutes. It's one thing to make one movie out of it, but then to go nuts like that.
Who knows? I may be the only one on there because I don't know if we're gonna get everybody who's seen. You're welcome to come on, regulars, if you've seen at least a chunk of them.
I'm back from LA. I don't know. I'll try.
October, we're actually doing back-to-back horror rumbles this next 2 months, right?
I think it'll be September, October will be horror rumbles. I don't know if we'll let them know the topics yet, and then November, December will be the rumble.
Yeah,
this show back with
special episode of the rumble in November, election episode.
Oh,
I guess you can look at it that way.
We're gonna do something patriotic in November. I promise we are doing fucking Rambo in November.
All righty, he said it.
That is patriotic.
We're doing Rambo in November.
I'm sorry, nothing screams America like fucking Stallone and a fucking big ass machine gun.
That's our Veterans
Day. The man that retroactively won the Vietnam War.
Fucking A. Anyway, there will be
help those brave fighters in Afghanistan.
There will be a new season for Kory's Dead Time Gory's coming. I even have the first episode ready to be wrote. And for all of you who liked the Bloodstained Bears episode, this is going to be in the same vein.
Still my favorite. Still my favorite.
And I'll refrain from telling you the title of this one. So.
And
yes,
thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming, Cole. I appreciate it, man. And you too, Dan, as always.
And I'm glad it gave me an excuse because, like I said, I wasn't really interested in Ghostbusters. This gave me an excuse to watch Frozen Empire, and I'm glad I did.
And it was a pleasant surprise for you, which I'm glad to hear. Because kind of feel bad then if I had to watch a shitty movie to be on your on the show.
I'm willing to do that. I enjoy the show.
Thanks to buddy. You were, I think, going to ask Kory. I'm not going to give it away yet, but
Okay.
I will promise. We haven't had a special, kind of a one-off show in a long time on Cable Channel 11. I guarantee there will be at least one by October, maybe two, but definitely one by October. So
All
Okay.
right.
check it out.
Hound him for that second one.
Well, these two know the main one, but that's all I'm going to say.
All right.
I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay, so until next time, I guess. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
All you guys in the chat, thank you very much for participating, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Later, guys.